We had an extra song there, everybody. Hi, sexy internet. Welcome to the first ever live show of the Incinerator, a subverted pop culture elimination game where guests take turns sending titles from a list of 16 into the Incinerator, inflicting varying amounts of damage along the way. I'm your host, Billy Ray Brewton, and with me is the co-host and producer of the pod, Mr. Disconnected himself, aka the man making sure all this runs smooth like a PBS telethon, Ryan Verrill.
Until it doesn't, and then we're blaming Billy Ray. Billy Ray, how we doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing great here in the Pacific Northwest. It's a lovely, temperate day. My dogs are not being bastards. What more could you want?
To be there, because it's miserable as hell in the Midwest right now.
Oh, is it super stinky hot in the Midwest?
102 earlier, and we were at like 63% humidity, something like that.
Oh, that's just ridiculous. I'd leave the state immediately.
That's the plan, yeah.
Pack up the kids, pack up the wife, head to, oh Lord, I don't know. Everything's going to be underwater in 10 years. It's our first live show, Ryan.
I am stoked. I'm also kind of surprised we waited this long.
I know. It seems like my ego would have taken control at some point, and I would have done like 10 of these already. But no, this is our first one.
Your inner stagehand, I thought, would have laid itself bare many months ago.
It did not, but it is now. It is now, and I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a really fun show. Our episode today is one of the most special we've done. We're incinerating the films of the Scott brothers, Ridley and Tony, while also raising money for an amazing cause, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Now, technically, if you're watching this now, it should mean that you've already donated, either directly to us via Venmo or directly to the foundation's website. You'll see scrolls at the bottom throughout the episode tonight, and you can see just how to do that. We'll be accepting donations for 48 hours after this episode concludes. So you got 48 hours to make a donation, and then we'll reveal our grand total. So if you donate directly to the foundation via their website, please screenshot it so we can include that in the total. Now to our guests. He is a contributor at the Film Stage and co-hosts the Film Stage's B-Side podcast, Mr. Conor O'Donnell.
Oh, hello.
Hello! And they are a senior editor at Letterboxd and a contributor to Pace, the Film Stage, amongst others, Mitchell Beaupre.
What's up?
We're here, everybody. We're doing it.
We made it.
We made it. Well, I want to start out with the most obvious question in the world, which is, why Ridley and Tony Scott?
Mitchell, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, sure. I think I pitched this idea, one, because I know Connor loves these guys. I thought that it would be a really fun episode for me and Connor to do together. And then two, I think that just rewatch it. Like, I just wanted to have an excuse to rewatch like all of these guys' movies, and this was a really good excuse. They are like both these guys who, even the ones that don't necessarily work, I feel like every single movie they make is extremely watchable. Like, I could put on the majority of either of their movies any day and just have a nice time chilling out with them. And then I think putting them together is a really fun experiment because we see this kind of fusion of like why, like, the differences in the careers, that Ridley is more of like he's
kind of the workman. Yeah, he's almost the
exactly.
journeyman of the two.
Exactly.
Like, he's a little bit more of like a William Wyler, right? Like, he does a lot of, he does just a little bit of everything. And I think as a result has maybe sort of the more varied batting average, let's say, versus like Tony Scott, I think, is far more consistent, but he's also kind of the auteur. Like, everything sort of fits within his wheelhouse. Which I think is what makes them fascinating. Like Mitchell said, I mean, the overall collective filmographies of these two guys, I don't know, I'm speaking off the cuff here, but like, it's probably one of the best desert island filmographies you could hope for. Like, if you brought their collective filmographies onto an island and that's all you had to watch, you could go through these a couple times before I think you'd get officially really bored. And I don't know if there's a pair of filmmakers, collectively you could say that about as much as these two guys, which I think is super interesting. I think the other thing that I sort of realized rewatching a lot of these is some of their most fascinating movies are the ones where you can feel the influence of the other. There are a lot of movies in their filmography that feel like, there are some Ridley Scott movies like Black Rain or The Counselor or something that feel like they could have been directed by Tony Scott, you know, like they're almost in that adjacent vein. Whereas like Tony Scott has things like Spy Game or Man on Fire, which feels like maybe those could have been Ridley movies in another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was interesting because I've never really honestly given either filmmaker a ton of consideration, to my own chagrin, other than I've liked their films, obviously. But I think when I was rewatching these films for this episode, I think what struck me more than anything is that it's hard to argue that Ridley Scott doesn't have the more iconic films, right? Like, certainly has the most iconic films of the, you know, in those individual moments. But in terms of like being like an actual auteur, like Tony Scott's really kind of got him beat there.
Sure.
Like, it's like I've said before, like you can watch any Ridley Scott movie for the most part and maybe not realize it's a Ridley Scott movie. You know, in the first 5 to 10 minutes that you're watching a Tony Scott movie.
Yeah.
Right. There might be like pockets of Ridley movies, like his epics obviously all kind of might feel like a piece, but like there's no reason for you to believe that the same guy directed Hannibal, Matchstick Men, Alien, and Gladiator. You know, like
Yeah,
so there's a lot of variety there.
Well, I think we all need just a pick-me-up. So why don't we just bring up our buddy Jim, who adores all 4 of us.
Oh,
Thanks, Jim.
thanks,
Jim, for adoring us. And that's a perfect segue because there are actually 5 of us. So we have our engineer for this evening. Cannot be here for the entire game. So he's going to pop up now, and at the halfway point, Ryan is going to serve as the proxy and is the other host of the B-Side Podcast, Mr. Dan Mecca.
Boo.
Hey.
Boo.
Hey guys.
Jim, do you adore all 5 of us? Or
I
did
feel like-
or did Dan's just bring down the percentages? I don't
This is
know.
the comment where he says, "Never mind."
4 out of 5. Ain't bad.
Yes. Ask me later, please. So Dan, your job as engineer was to inflict bullshit on Mitchell and Conor.
Right.
How confident are you that you have inflicted a proper level of bullshit?
I think probably very confident.
He's
'cause
pretty good at doing that in the day-to-day also. So
It's true. Connor would know. Yeah, I think I feel confident because I know, you know, Mitchell and Connor well, and I feel like I have picked sufficient, you know, I know I think I know the likes and dislikes in terms of Tony and Ridley. So I feel like I guess we'll see. I mean, you'll tell me at the halfway point what went down, and then you know maybe I'll hang for a little bit after that, you know, and see what goes down. But I have to say some exciting landmines, and this is I think my first time on the other side of it, which is nice. It's better.
It's better? Oh, that's good to know.
Because the landmines are tough, so like it's nice to have
It's
sent it.
scary.
it is fun. I've been the engineer before, and it is fun to be just like a little stinker pulling the levers, you know?
I guess it's not better because it's fun. Like I wish I was doing this. I wish I was doing the Ridley and Tony.
So
Dan
you're jealous.
was a little mad when
I was jealous.
we
when
told
we
him
said
that
we were
doing
when we said we were
it.
doing it, he was like kind of
We were
So I
chatting.
think that might be reflected in the landmines that are going to get pulled here.
yeah, we'll see.
Well, tell us, Dan, what is one film in either of their filmographies that you hope Mitchell and Connor don't sleep on?
Oh man, I love Spy Game. Deeply, and I think that's a weirder one to love. It's a little less known. I feel like it's a Ridley, but
Yeah.
that's a Ridley that feels like it's a Tony.
That's a
Sorry,
Tony.
it's a Tony. But and then similarly, but Mitchell, I feel like you love this movie. I love Domino too. So if those go far, I'll be happy. Though I feel like they might not. It's hard. There's like Connor was saying, you all were saying, like it's a kind of a wealth. It's an embarrassment of riches a little bit, you know. And I think, but like Spy Game has just. I mean, I guess if I had to pick a Ridley, and that wasn't like an obvious one, I love Matchstick Men. So you know, those are all kind of within a few years of each other. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot. The Counselor's another one where you said that's kind of Ridley being Tony for a minute, which is exciting. So yeah, there's a wealth. There's a wealth here.
Well, in addition to a wealth of titles, there is a wealth of nonsense. And I'm going to now get into that nonsense because It's extensive. So everybody buckle up. It's rules time. Each challenger sent me their individual lists of the top Ridley and Tony Scott films. After some alchemy, we arrived at a list of 16. 12 of those titles were shared picks between the players, meaning that they showed up on both of their lists. Both Conor and Mitchell also had 2 unique picks that made their lists only. Now, this means they only received 2 in good consciences. So in good consciences are the chance to stop a film from being incinerated in the moment and replace it with one of their unique picks. As host, I also receive an in good conscience, but it must be played before the final 10 films are remaining. So unfortunately, gentlemen, you only get 2 in good consciences because you only had 2 unique picks, though there may be some chances to earn more with some of our landmines. We'll see. Now, to that pesky engineer. The engineer received 4 advantages. First, he was able to advance 1 film all the way to the final 5. No one will know what that film is until someone attempts to incinerate it. Second, he receives 1 in good conscience that can be played outside the top 10. Third, he was able to assign 7 landmines throughout the list of titles. 3 were assigned to shared picks, meaning each and every one of the players' unique picks also has a landmine attached. So just so you know, there's no surprise there. If it's one of your unique picks, it's going to have a landmine attached. Fourth and finally, the engineer predicted 1 film they will believe will make it to the final 2, as well as 1 film that they feel will be incinerated earlier than expected, meaning outside of the top 5. If both predictions are correct, the engineer chooses which player chooses the final film. So that means if the engineer likes Mitchell more than Conor, or Conor more than Mitchell, they're going to get that final pick more than likely.
Can I tell you something funny? I've forgotten so many of my picks already.
Good. It's going to be a surprise for you too.
Like
also,
as you were saying it, I was like, "What did I pick?" I did this so recently. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Well, also,
what a thrill.
And we've been a little lax on this recently. If a title is incinerated from your memory and you mention that title at any point during the game, I get a point. If the players end up with 5 or more points, I choose the final film in the game. So mind your tongues.
Now, quick, just point of order question. Can we reference the film without saying the title?
Yes.
Okay. We just can't
say its name. Yes.
So if I just, as an example, if I said Schmadiator, we would all know what I'm
No, we won't
about.
allow that. No, we won't allow that. That's
But if I said like the Roman Sword and Sandal movie with Russell Crowe,
that's perfectly acceptable. That's perfectly acceptable.
All right, I can.
Finally, last rule. We have something called maximum tomfuckery. The Patreon army has chosen 1 film not present on the list that they feel should be. The engineer can, at any time, play this film instead of one of the listed titles. The listed title is instantly incinerated without conversation, and the patron's pick takes its place. This can only happen before the final 5, and the engineer may also choose not to deploy that title. So it's entirely up to the engineer, which in this case is Dan. And right, so we can just do this live right here. Dan, do you feel like that the patron's choice should be implemented at some point tonight?
You're going to tell me what it is or no?
Oh, I'm going to tell everybody what it is.
Okay.
It's The Last Boy Scout.
Oh, man. So I have to choose right now?
No, you don't have to choose right now. No, but Ryan might choose for you during the game, though.
Oh, I can choose. You want me to choose now?
All you've got to say is yay or nay if you want it to be played.
I think yay. Let's have fun.
So Ryan, you know that you have this mission now to at some point, to at some point get rid of a title and replace it with The Last Boy Scout. Those are the rules. I understand that they do not make sense, but we will keep talking about them as we go through.
Does anything
such
make
as
sense?
The game? No, nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. Yeah. And you know what does make sense is Carrie Mulligan, probably not the one I'm thinking, saying someone should read Roger Ebert's Gladiator review. I have read that review, and I hope everybody else has too.
I'm gonna pull it up for my memory.
Yeah, Dan's gonna pull it up now. Do we
That'd
understand
be so great
the rules?
if that was Carrie Mulligan. Sorry, I'm just.
It kind of would be great, Carrie. If that's actually you, we'd love to have you on. So do we get the rules, gentlemen?
Yeah, let's go.
Uh,
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to talk about the films that made the list. We also have a handy graphic as well.
Ooh.
So the shared picks, meaning picks that were chosen by both Mitchell and Connor, are Alien, American Gangster, Blade Runner, Crimson Tide, Deja Vu, Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, Man on Fire, Matchstick Men, Spy Game, Thelma and Louise, and Unstoppable. The two unique picks belonging to Mitchell are The Martian and Domino, and the two unique picks belonging to Connor are The Last Duel and The Counselor. Those are our 16 films. How do we feel about this list, everyone?
It's an attractive group of movies. I think we should just
it
not
is
do
an-
anything with any of them.
Yeah,
Just
I think we
pack
can
it
pack
in.
it up and go home, right? And just
Good show, guys.
everybody go home, watch all these movies. You won't be disappointed. I think we've done our job.
I think it's a lovely list. There's only one film that Gay Billy Ray wishes was still on there, but it's not. And so that's okay. I can say goodbye to my childhood homosexuality tonight. That's
Thankfully,
totally okay.
the last Boy Scout will replace one of these pieces of shit. So
Yeah.
that'll be nice when that happens.
Dude,
Um,
this I knew. This Ebert review is a slaughter. I knew that. But my God, he did not like Gladiator.
He did not like Gladiator.
Look,
a lot of people.
you can't win all the time. You know what I mean? You can't. You got to
Look.
miss every once in a while.
Look, Gladiator to me is not a great movie. It's a good movie with great performances, but it's not a great movie.
I mean, it's funny because I feel like Gladiator to me is one of those movies that's so nestled so comfortably as like a watchable piece of entertainment for a lot of people that it feels like it might be overrated. But I've rewatched that movie twice this year for both for this podcast and the B-side plug, and it just really is perfectly rated. It is like a perfect piece of entertainment. It's so effortlessly watchable. So I don't know if I want it to come out on top, but I hope it goes far.
Well, we're going to find out. It's now time to get into the actual game. We're going to bid adieu to Dan, and then Dan's going to join us again right after the break. And so what I'll do is I'll ping you, Dan, when it's time to come on.
Okay, hey, everybody, have fun.
Thanks,
We're going to
Dan.
do our best.
You guys have fun.
I'm going to be so mad at these
I'll
landmines.
see you in a little bit.
Bye, Dan. Are we ready, everyone?
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, fuck it.
Okay. We decide who goes first with a round of cinephile-inspired trivia. Name an actor, and you'll each take turns listing films they were in until one of you cannot. The winner of trivia decides whether they want to make the first incineration or whether they want to receive a secret message. Now, the downside about the secret message is it could be a good thing or a bad thing. So you take your chances, and it's chosen by a randomizer. So it's not me just deciding if I want to fuck someone over. Are we ready for the Cinephile trivia round?
Yeah. Born
With
ready.
with two people who should know how to play this game effectively.
We'll see.
The
Don't
act-
say that.
The actor in question is, we got to start with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Susan Weaver, as she's
So-
known.
Yep. We start out alphabetically. So, Mitchell, you will kick us off.
Yeah, let's just do Alien.
Okay.
All right. I'll just go down the list. I'll do Aliens with a $sign.
Got it.
Yeah, why not? Alien 3.
There we go.
Alien Resurrection.
Boom.
Avatar.
Copycat.
Good one.
Can I point out we're
Um,
going in alphabetical order so far?
Well, we did skip a sequel, but I don't want to give that to Mitchell.
I mean, I'll say, Avatar, the Way of Water.
Yep.
I will say Exodus, Gods and Kings.
There we go.
I'll say, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters 2.
Boom.
Let's go with a fun one. Let's do Holes.
Yep. Good one.
Let's keep it somewhat alphabetical. We'll go Heartbreakers.
Oh yeah. God, what a good movie.
Mitchell, we talked about that movie. I'm
We
surprised
talked
that
about
wasn't
that
first
movie.
out of your mouth.
That's probably I guess not, but I love that movie. Because it's in the news a little bit, or at least the director is kind of doing the discourse cycle right now. I'll say Chappie.
Sure.
Yep.
That's Chappie. Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Good one.
Sort of similar time period. I'll say Paul. The movie Paul, we all remember.
Yep. We sure do.
Year of Living Dangerously.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Yep.
Eyewitness.
Yep.
Damn, yeah. Shit.
Y'all are missing some bangers.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to like pick off like the deep cuts so that they don't have a place to run to, you know. Let's see. I will go with I'll go with Master Gardener.
I was about to
Okay.
say that one. I'll say Galaxy Quest.
Yep.
Gorillas in the Mist.
Correct.
Oh, sure. I'll do this the same year and say Working Girl.
Yep.
Oh, Siggy. I'll go with 1492 Conquest of Paradise.
That is correct.
I will say The Assignment.
Oh
Oh,
God, that
shit.
horrible film.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, a movie I like a lot. The Village.
Yeah.
Correct.
What a great movie. I will say John Singleton's Abduction.
That is correct.
She's in that movie?
Unfortunately, she is in
not
that.
know that.
And-
Okay.
So's our boy Taylor.
Yeah, that's true. That was his last movie, right? R.I.P.
Yeah,
He
unfortunately.
did an Adam Sandler movie or two after that.
No, I meant
Singleton.
Singleton.
Oh, Singleton.
I would
thought you meant
actually-
Taylor Lautner.
I would kind of respect Singleton if he did a couple Adam Sandler movies. That
I
would
would
be
love
kinda
to see a Singleton.
Okay. Shit. I will say damn. I think I'm just gonna give it to Mitchell. I'm racking my brain. I think I'm out.
I'm gonna count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mitchell,
Yeah.
I need one more title.
I'll say Cedar Rapids.
That is correct. We also missed films like oh Lord, let's see, Dave, Death and the Maiden, The Ice
Dave.
Storm, A Map of the
Oh,
World.
The Ice Storm, Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, Tadpole, Imaginary Heroes, a lot of, and then not to mention her very good film from last year called The Good House.
I had that one written
What
down.
What if there was a good house? Yeah.
What if there was
What
a
if
good
there was a good
house?
house? Mitchell, you have one, so that means you get to decide: do you want to incinerate first, or do you want to roll your dice with a potential good blessing or a bad one?
Yeah, give me that blessing. Let's see what happens.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna do the randomizer here.
Bold move. Bold move. Let's see if it pays off.
Okay. Mitchell, I am delivering this to you privately because this is a private, perk that you get. So I'm going to send it to you.
Sure.
How about I send it to you via Twitter?
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
What is Twitter?
Oh, excuse me, X.
I see. I'll pull up the old X app.
I just sent it. This is something that you can implement at any time before the final 5.
Okay.
Okay. It's time to do this thing, everybody. So that means, Connor, you're going to have the first incineration. Cut 16 through 13 will be incinerated for everyone except you. You can keep your memories, but everyone else before and after will not know the movie existed. And you're not allowed to share it with anyone or watch it again. It's just there alone in your head. What's the first movie that gets that kind of damage going to be? You can put it in the chat.
Okay. So just
in the
so
private chat. Not
yeah,
in the
no.
comments.
I
Yeah.
got it. And are these so just what's in our chat? These are in order of like 16th. So the last one listed is right, because these are all the movies that are in the chat right now.
They are
Got it.
correct.
Okay, so I just do the one of the last three.
Yeah.
Let's see.
One of the last three.
You can pick any of those 16.
You can pick any. Of
Oh, okay. Sorry, you said 16 through 13. That threw me off.
Oh, no. That's just in the way we're ranking. No, you can pick any title. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great. All right. Shit, this is really hard.
Let's put it in the chat. And we're at 16, Connor.
I
We
did.
can't get
I know
literally-
it's like Mitchell said, it's an attractive crop of movies. Like
Thinking about
No.
this morning, I was like, well,
I
I know some of the
love-
ones
I
that I'll
love-
cut early, and then I see this list and I'm like, I don't have a
I love
clue
all
which
my
one.
I love all my children. I am okay.
It's the first pick, and Connor's going to go take a sip of water and be like,
Yeah, kind of. I need to like go do a lap after.
Can we make the list 30, and then I think that we'll be able to get through the
And-
first like 10. Okay.
And Ryan, I want you to deliver this first pick.
oh, Lordy. I can do that. So, with the first pick in this incineration is one of the more adolescent films on this list. And Connor has decided to throw into the incinerator The Martian. Connor, why are we getting rid of The Martian first?
Like you said, it's a little more adolescent. It's an extremely watchable movie. Like we said, these are all we love these all these movies. I just think in the grand scheme of needing to preserve things, this is the one that has to make the cut. Even though I will say watching Ridley be very funny is very enjoyable and he's very good at it. And The Martian is a great example, but he's made better movies. So it's got to go.
Mitchell, this was one of your unique picks. So
Well, I mean, we both only have 2 unique picks, and so you gotta probably assume they might be going a little early. So I was expecting it. I'll take it. I'm glad that I got it onto the list. I think that, I mean, as Connor said, it's like a top shelf piece of entertainment. I get that maybe it's not much more than that, but especially in like 2015, I think that seeing a movie like this that is like genuinely exactly what a Hollywood kind of blockbuster should be, that not a lot of people are making like ones like this anymore, that feel like you really get involved with the spirit of this mission that all of these people are combining to make. I think, Connor, you mentioned maybe it was your wife maybe who compared it to Apollo 13, like watching it. And I think
it's a competency porn movie. Like
Exactly.
if you would be if you came from another planet and watched this, you'd be like, this really happened, right? Like that's the energy.
Exactly.
of
It
The
feels like a
Martian,
true story
yeah.
movie, even though obviously it's not. But, and also, yeah, as Connor said, it is such a hilarious movie. I know everybody loves to do the dig on the fact that it was nominated at the Golden Globes for a comedy. I don't have any problem with that. I think that it is the funniest movie that came out that year. Like every single time I watch it, I'm cracking up. I think Damon is a hoot in it. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think, is so great in it. Benedict Wong is fantastic. It's like, I love it. I really love it. I'm sad to see it go, but it is what it is. We got some other, cookies in the oven here.
it's a super fun movie. I would be tempted to use my in good conscience on it, but I'm saving mine for another one. But I don't know how. I don't know. I mean, we also have another good conscience in the hands of the engineer proxy.
We do. I'm not going to use mine this time, but I will say Connor knowingly picked one of Mitchell's titles that is only on his list, which means it's time for our first landmine, gentlemen. We are at that stage. So our first landmine on The Martian is called Burn It All. Players are going to take turns.
Oh, wow.
randomly sending the host, Billy Ray, titles. If the 2 titles that you each send match, that film will be eliminated. So you're each going to send 1 title at a time. We're going to count down to it. You're going to send it. If it's a match, it's off the list immediately. We're going to talk about it. And if there happens to be a landmine on that one, we'll have to go through with that. It could be landmine Inception. But the best thing, because this happened in the very first round, we have to do this 5 times.
Yep. 5 times. So everybody get their title typed in. I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, send. 1, 2, 3, send.
Oh, wait 1 second. Well, shit, I'm late, but whatever.
Okay. No match. Get ready. We're going to do it again.
Mitchell,
1,
can we like blink 3 times if you're?
Yeah, I feel like maybe give us a little bit more of a.
They need a couple
head
seconds.
start, yeah.
I'll give you 5 seconds instead of 3. Here we go.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. No match. Here we go.
Whoa.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. No match. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. No match. 1 more to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. No match. We made it through Burn It All unscathed, everyone.
Not only unscathed, every single choice was different, except one was repeated once. That is astonishing.
The repeat on that last one was because I ran out of time and was like, let me type the shortest one.
Wow. You did it. You made it through unscathed. And that means, even
Can we divulge to the audience what just transpired? Because it is kind of, is that allowed?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to be clear for watchers and listeners. Just the things we were throwing into the fire out of sheer panic started with American Gangster, Blade Runner, The Counselor, Alien, Man on Fire, Spy Game, The Last Duel, Unstoppable, Alien again, and then Deja Vu. Just throwing our children in.
Wow.
Well, it makes sense that Alien would be twice and then Deja Vu following it.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there we
It
go.
was scary. I think doing it in this one.
That was very stressful.
Yeah, and so the private chat in this one, everybody in here can see the private chat, whereas when we used to record these over Zoom, you only have the private chat like to Billy Ray, so the other person couldn't see what you were typing. And I think having that Billy Ray ticking down the clock, knowing that like we're all seeing it, so like I need to get it in right when Connor's getting his in. If I delay, then I have Connor's in my head too. It made it a lot more terrifying.
I just can't wait to see what like Scott brothers' stepchild Mitchell and I ultimately band together over to try and just elevate to the end.
Well, until we get there, I know that Mars is hotter than Earth, but it is not hotter the Incinerator, and that is where it is going. The Martian is being burned alive as we speak. Matt Damon does not make it off the planet. Now, Mitchell, over to you for the 15th incineration. In the private chat, I will take your next victim.
All right, here we go.
Don't break my heart. Wow. Mitchell is not fucking around. The number 15 incineration, Mitchell is saying, that Blade Runner movie? Not so much. Blade Runner, Mitchell. Why?
Listen, we're gonna have to make choices here. I Blade Runner is not in my top 5. I'm like, let's get it out of the way. Wow. It's fine. It was obviously on both me and Connor's list. We love the movie. Who knows what'll happen if somebody wants to play a thing, but I mean, I love Blade Runner. It's great. I think that it is one of the like defining examples of world building in cinematic history. Like the texture of that world feels incredible. The cinematography is incredible. The score is unreal. I think if anything, maybe the reason why I would get rid of it, or I am trying to get rid of it before some of these other ones, is there is deliberately a little bit of an austere quality to it. Like I feel a little bit distanced from Blade Runner compared to some of these other movies. I think that's obviously very intentional, but I gotta get rid of some of these movies. And so if there's a thing where I can be like, this movie to me is a 4-star movie rather than a 5-star movie, which a lot of these movies I think are 5-star movies, I'm gonna, throw this out, get it out of the way early, rip the Band-Aid off.
I'm not going to object. I think now everything Mitchell just said is correct. Every movie on this incineration list is, I mean, we're talking about the difference between, very good to great and greatest. But I think the thing about Blade Runner, can I say the name still? Sorry.
You can say it for a
it
little
hasn't
bit.
been
Yeah.
officially
Sorry, yeah.
incinerated yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I do think the thing about this film is that every time I've watched it, even though it's amazing, even in its best form, it does feel inherently compromised.
Mm.
And I think it's never really been able to escape that for me, but its influence is undeniable. So, which is why we both agreed it should be on this list in the first place, but I won't object to it going away.
I have never been a Blade Runner fan. It has always left me cold. I've never gotten into it. And I would say that the good thing is that people will still have the sequel to enjoy if they so choose.
Which is the better movie, in my opinion.
Ryan, you had a very big facial reaction.
Yeah, that was a
What
big...
are your thoughts on this?
Are we going to get Last Boy Scouted? I feel like
that would be worse.
God,
take it fully off the list. I was shocked. I for sure thought this would make it at least to 10. I honestly saw it going lower than most people would expect, but I kind of feel like the tide is turning and people are kind of starting to prefer the sequel over the original. And
I'll say I'm not one of those people.
I was about to say
do not
Mitchell's
like the
face did
sequel.
not look like he was in that team.
I don't like
Wow.
that movie.
Well, I'm shocked that it's happening, but the Blade has stopped running.
Like
And
Tears
now
in the
it's-
Rain.
And now it's just, the tears in the rain have all dried up at the steamy hot smoke of the incinerator, where it is dead at number 15. Back to you, Connor, for the number 14 incineration. Barry the Tick does not like 2049. I'm kind of equal on both of them. I think they're both just kind of blah. I'll be in Leonard Maltin's company.
Right.
Perfectly lovely gentleman.
Oh, I very strongly disagree with this comment.
I have my pick ready.
Okay, send it away. And there we have it. A good place for this film, which is another film I'm not a huge fan of. At number 14, Ridley Scott's attempted crime epic, American Gangster. Tell us about it, Connor.
Yeah, you say attempted crime epic. I think that's probably the way I felt when I first saw this movie. It is a movie that has grown on me over the years. And it's my love for it is a little more fresh. I recently rewatched it twice because I rewatched it for our Russell Crowe B-side episode. And I rewatched it again for this. And it really did kind of grow on me significantly both times. So I would say what some people call recency bias, maybe with it, that I have recently kind of grown to love it. I do think it's incredible. I think the sort of screen offset of Denzel and Crowe is perfect. They are both perfect at playing exceptional men. And I think the movie has a really nice balance of that. I think, after so many years of working with Tony Scott, I think Denzel working with Ridley Scott is such a nice thing here. But yeah, I think it's the kind of movie that could have been made by somebody else, has been made by other people as different movies, maybe not this specific story, but the nature of it. I don't know if it's necessarily bringing too many things thematically to the table that you wouldn't get somewhere else, even though I do love it.
Mitchell.
Yeah, I really love American Gangster. I agree that this is probably an appropriate spot for it. I certainly don't think that it should have lasted to the top 10 or anything like that. But yeah, like Connor, when it came out, I liked it. But it sort of has grown in estimation for me over the years, especially with the director's cut. I think is strong. I'm not crazy about the added kind of end at the director's cut, but the extra heft throughout I think works really well. I love the pairing of Denzel and Russell together. I think that especially at this stage of their careers, as opposed to Virtuosity, which is also a very fun movie. And I mean, Russell Crowe in that is batshit insane.
And hot.
But yeah, but I think that they pair really well together in this. And I like Russell Crowe as the sort of like philandering, sloppy cop who like his only thing that he's maybe decent at is trying to get this guy, and he is struggling so hard to get people to believe in him. And I think that the arc of that is really compelling versus the arc of Denzel as this black man in America trying to rise to the status of being this elite gangster. And I think that the most interesting thing for me in American Gangster is how we see sort of the world around him reacting to that. The fact that every time Crowe's character tries to bring up this guy as being the guy that we're all after, the response is there's no way a black man could, do that. And I think that seeing that sort of story being told out is really interesting. It's kind of like on the periphery a little bit in the background as we're more ingrained in the two arcs of the two characters, but I think it plays really well and it stands out for me a lot. But I agree that this is a good spot for it. I considered cutting it before Blade Runner, but I wanted to be a little bit of a devil first.
Yeah, well, being a devil is always appreciated here. I just need to rewatch it. I think I just need to reappraise it. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I think I owe Ridley that much. Ryan, how do you feel about this one?
I gotta be honest, I was 50-50 on it when I saw it. I can't remember if this was a theater viewing for me or right after home video, one of the two, but it was very early on, and I've had no desire to go back to it, but maybe I should.
Okay, well, Denzel fought so hard and worked his butt off to get the American dream, only to see it go up in a plume of ash and smoke because it's gone. It's all gone. Dead at number 14. We're down to the lucky or unlucky number 13 slot, which means Mitchell, you got a darling to kill.
Sure.
You just send it over, and oh gosh, I know what film I want you to play. What film do you want him to play? Watching audience at home, which film should Mitchell send into the incinerator right now?
Should I wait?
These are all of the options. Which movie should he?
This is not a democracy. Come on.
Should we launch a poll? I'm not gonna look at the
are we
chat.
doing?
All right, I'm hitting the button. I'm sorry, Connor.
Okay. There it is. I have a feeling this is not going to be what a lot of people watching wanted. This is, out of all of these films, this might be the one that I feel like has had the best second life of any film on here.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Incinerating at number 13, the fourth Ridley Scott film in a row.
Oh,
Jesus.
wow.
Mind you.
I haven't even been taking track of that.
The Counselor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good movie. I'm like part sort of the cultural resurgence for The Counselor, but not as much maybe as some people. I did not care for it when it came out. I've grown to like it, but not love it. I mean, it's a really interesting movie, sort of like Blade Runner. I think my biggest thing is I'm too held at a distance. Like I can't connect with like the characters. I can't connect with I can't invest in their stories, but I think that on like a scene to scene basis, it's like a series of just like monologues that are really well drawn out and really well performed by the actors. I mean, any movie that starts with Michael Fassbender telling Penelope Cruz that she has the most luscious pussy in all of Christendom, like how do you not like that? I think that it plays beautifully as a comedy too.
I think that's also the opening line of Alien too.
And yeah, you might be right. You might be right. She's talking to the cat, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it's the list, whatever. Like I'm not gonna cut Alien right now. I already did Blade Runner, so
That's a
Connor
point for
Connor cut one of mine.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a
look,
point. Mitchell just gave us a point. Let me make a note of that.
Thanks, Ryan. We'll
This-
figure it out.
This
All right.
this is tough. I'll let it go, but I do have to say I've always really liked this movie. Like I've always kind of ridden for it, and it's only grown in my estimation. It's resurgence and reappraisal, like you were talking about, Billy Ray, has been something that's been really kind of validating to watch. But I do think, yeah, I can see why it can go a little lower, even though it's a personal favorite for me. I do think it's what I call Ridley's Eyes Wide Shut. It's kind of this very almost impenetrable movie that's about two very weak men who try and penetrate certain echelons of society and are just way in over their heads and really kind of have to have the world explained to them by everyone else around them. Would make a great double bill for anybody who programs movies. But yeah, I would just say if you haven't seen it, seek it out. Seek out the extended cut.
The extended cut is way better.
It's got one of the greatest scenes with a car you'll ever watch. And yeah, but I'm sad to see it go, but we can let it burn.
This is one that I had never seen fully until I was prepping for this episode. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I'm just going to say it's okay that it's burning here. Ryan.
But the big question is it burning here? Because of course that was not a shared pick. So we knew that this was going to have a landmine, and this one could potentially still be safe, actually. So the landmine that was chosen for this one, of course, is called Academy Awards All In. Mitchell, this is for you, since you were the one that chose this one. When the film attached to this landmine is incinerated, the player must name 4 of the Big 6 awards winners at the Oscars of the year that the incinerated film was released, which means we are looking for the 2014 Oscars. If you do not get it correctly, Billy Ray gets to pick, but it kind of seems like he already alluded that it was good that this was burning here. So it might just be win-win for everybody, and you get to flex if you know it or not.
Okay.
So we're looking for Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Picture, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress.
All right. So pictures, 12 Years a Slave. Lead actors, McConaughey and Dallas Buyers Club. Lead actress is Blanchett and Blue Jasmine. And supporting actor is Jared Leto and Dallas Buyers Club.
That is correct.
Boom! Good job, Mitchell. And had I won that, I would have just left it. I wouldn't have swapped it out for anything. So it was going to stay there regardless. Good job, Mitchell. Moving on. We're out of this heat. So we are now on to the new heat. Cuts 12 through 8 will be incinerated back to opening weekend. So if you saw the film opening weekend, you still have that memory. If you did not see it opening weekend, it never existed. No chance to build an audience or a cult following opening weekend. And that is that. Ryan and I only have the next 2 incinerations to use our in good consciences. So it's going to be interesting. So Connor, you're up next. What is the next devastating incineration?
This is getting hard.
This is getting hard.
Yeah.
Oh, what could it be? What could it be? I'm very excited to see. There it is. I mean, I thought this film could have kept going and going, but it turns out that is indeed Unstoppable at number 12. Connor, why Unstoppable at number 12? And why are you wrong?
Look, I have to be perfectly frank here. I am a pine nut, as they say. I love this movie. This is one of my favorite Tony Scott movies. But there are just other movies that are left remaining that I want to protect. And so I gotta let this one go. I am so grateful for this movie. I think, obviously with the very sad end to Tony Scott's career, it would have been a real bummer to end on Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. And so I think this movie has only grown in estimation over the years, kind of for that reason that he at least gratefully just gave us one more great one before the end. But that said, yeah, I just think there are other movies on here that I want to preserve and protect. So I gotta let it go, even though I do love this movie.
Mitchell.
Yeah. Sorry. I love it too. I agree that I think that it is a perfect, as far as swan songs go, it's one of the best out there. Not a lot of directors get to go out on a high. Obviously Tony went out on it for an unfortunate reason. But I think that I mean, it's so compelling. It is so exhilarating to watch. I love train movies. I love a movie on a train. I love a movie on a train. If it can't stop.
baby.
It's fascinating that his last two were both train heavy movies. I think that this one works a lot better. I think the pairing of Denzel and Pine is perfectly set. Tony has throughout his career done a really good job, I think, of pairing not only two like superstar, like mega actors, but doing the kind of older vet with the young up and comer. And I think that this was a really nice variation on it, especially with Crimson Tide being earlier in the career and Denzel being on the younger side of that. It's nice to flip it here with Denzel and Pine, but I agree that it's not as strong as some of these other ones. I would have had no problem if it went higher. I don't know if I would have personally let it go much higher myself. I might have made the cut pretty soon, just because it is, as Connor said, it's like you got to cut some of these beauties because we're trying to stave off the fact that we're going to have to get rid of other ones at some point that maybe it's going to be even harder to get rid of.
I am not going to use my in good conscience on this one, though I am tempted.
Can I say one last thing? TJ Miller's in this, so like get rid of it. Like let's. It just needs to go.
Actually, and just last words. Tony Scott knew who real movie stars were, and I'll just take this opportunity to say Chris Pine should have a much bigger career and should be way more celebrated because he's a true movie star. And
what are you talking about? He did All the Old Knives and what's that other?
A movie I like. A good movie. A movie I like.
He did Dungeons and Dragons.
Another movie I like. I'm just saying he should be one of the world's biggest movie stars right now. And Tony knew that.
Oh, Tony. Ryan, how do you feel about Unstoppable stopping at the number 12 slot?
This is going to be funny, and I don't think Billy Ray and I have ever discussed this before, so I'm going to reveal now. I worked for Union Pacific for about 4 years. I was a third-generation trainman. My dad was forced to retire as an engineer after years. My grandfather was an engineer. It was in my blood. I've driven many, many trains myself. Most everything in this movie is fake as hell. And I'm going to use...
No way.
I'm going to use my in good conscience because this is one of the funnest movies on this entire list. I love this movie. Even though nothing is accurate, it is such a freaking blast. I only have 2 spots to use it. I may as well use it on something I love.
Sure.
Quick question about the in good conscience. Does that preserve it for a certain amount of time, or
it does
go in the next round? Like, what's the statute of limitations on it?
It is safe until the next heat, meaning that you can't play it until the top 7.
Got it. Okay. Understood.
Yeah. So it is safe for now. That means, Connor, you have to send us a replacement.
Fuck.
Ryan, quick question. Were you removed from being a trainman because you let a train go off the rails and it was unstoppable?
So what's hilarious, I'm going to reveal here, I've never said this on my channel at all. I actually derailed a train once. I was working exhausted, like 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's not a lot of safety precautions for a lot of these things. And we have moving cars by themselves, not attached to anything. And I simply lined a switch too late and put a train. It didn't fall over anything. It just barely fell off the rails, sat right there. And it cost them like $65,000 to get it back on the rail.
If Chris Pine was there, it would have gotten saved, I think.
Okay. We now have Connor's next selection.
This one hurts me, actually, because
there's no reason for it to hurt you because I'm using my in good conscience on it. So Connor was attempting to play Matchstick Men, and I said, hell no.
Yeah,
in good conscience.
I don't blame you. It's a great movie.
You got another one to throw at me.
Fuck. Okay. Son of a bitch.
I will not allow that heresy to stand. We're just going to make it more and more difficult. If you play Alien, I'll kill you. There it is. Okay. Maybe the most appropriately named film on this list because it truly is about to be on fire. At number 12, incinerating, is Denzel Washington in Man on Fire.
For anybody protesting out there, I just want everybody to be aware that I chose 2 other movies before picking this one.
So why Men on Fire?
Same logic goes for Matchstick Men. I love both of them dearly. I know it's not going to make it to the end. So I feel like it's just got to go at some point. And there are other things I care a little bit more about preserving. But look, my art is death and I'm about to paint my masterpiece is the whole point.
Line.
But no, it's a great one. It's really a top tier collaboration between two of the best actor director collaborators that have ever made blockbusters. But I gotta let it go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that it's an incredible. It's like the movie that even if I like some of the other ones more, which I do, it is maybe the first movie that comes to my mind when I think of the Tony Scott Denzel like partnership. And I think that it just like it stands so tall in what Denzel is capable of achieving and how much you buy this man. And I think that the reason why Man on Fire, first of all, it's like 2.5 hours, and I love that about it. I love that it has this really grand, epic scope to it, even though the like A to B of the plot is very simple. And I think that one of the benefits of that is it gives so much time for us to invest in the Denzel and Dakota relationship before she's taken away. And something like, I really like Tony Scott's Revenge. I
Great
movie.
movie.
Had that on my initial list. It didn't make this one, but I think that that's a really great movie of showing Tony's romantic aesthetic. But I think that the one thing that maybe holds it back a little bit is the central relationship. You don't really invest in that much. I don't buy like those two and how quickly they, glom to each other. Whereas with Man on Fire, Denzel and Dakota, we get to spend so much time with them building that bond. We see her melting his icy heart before she's snatched away. And the one thing that has kind of saved him, he's, on the brink of suicide, and she kind of pulls him back from that brink, and then she's pulled away from him. So you really are right there with him. You want him to do whatever it takes to get her back. And I think that it's a movie that really pulls no punches, and I love it for that. But I agree with Connor that it's not going to make the top 5. So you kind of just gotta.
Yeah. I love this film too. I think it's really strong. It's one that I didn't love the first time I saw it, but really, really fell in love with it on a second viewing. And I just, I love Denzel and Tony's stuff they did together. It was fantastic. And so sad to see it go, but understand why it's going. Ryan, how do you feel about Man on Fire?
Man on Fire is incredible. Love this movie. This is one of the earlier Tonys that I really attached to, I think. It's a great film. Love this one.
But the question is it actually being incinerated?
It is
not.
Oh,
it has a landmine attached to it.
Oh, it's in a different font and I missed it. Yes. Let's. Oh, hey, look, there's a landmine. The very first screw up. Yay. All right. So this one is called In the Incinerator. No One Can Hear You Scream. The engineer chose this title, and the person who triggers the landmine must engage in a verbal battle of wills with the host, defending why the film should be on the list, with the host arguing that it shouldn't be on the list at all. The engineer decides who prevails in the debate. If the player wins, the title remains. If the host wins, the title is still safe, and the host gets to choose a replacement. Oh my God.
That's not complicated at all, is it?
Okay.
So
yeah, hang on. What's happening here?
Connor, you are defending.
Are we just going to yell? Are we just going
ahead.
to yell at each other?
Yes, that's essentially it. You're go ahead, Ryan.
You're defending that it should be on the list at all, not on the incinerator list, just to be able to say
why
this is one of the 16
this particular
best.
movie that I was choosing to incinerate should be on the list to begin with. Okay.
Yes, and Billy Ray's going to tell you that you're wrong for every reason under the sun, so be prepared.
Okay. Who starts?
You start.
Yes.
Okay. Why should this be on the list? Like I mentioned at the top, it's got that alchemy of being a Tony that could have been directed by a Ridley. It's Tony kind of, I think, shifting into probably the most dramatic gear, one of the most dramatic gears he ever has. And it's really tender. So it's very special.
Is that all you got?
Do I get one shot or do we go back and forth?
You're going back and forth.
We're going back and forth. Well, I'll say this. The problem with Man on Fire, apart from a very verbose script by the always verbose Brian Helgeland, who doesn't know how to edit his scripts to save his life, this movie is 146 minutes, and it does not need to be. And while I appreciate that films take time to build characters, there is no need for a film like this to take 2 hours and 26 minutes to tell this story. Absolutely none. And then we won't even talk about who I think is giving a really bad performance in Mickey Rourke.
Not even a little. Not even a little.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about Rourke is he's so perfectly deployed here because there's a level of scumbag energy, particularly to that like mid 2000s resurgence that gets so perfectly employed. I also think in terms of the length of this movie, I agree with everything Mitchell said. I think the reason the movie works is because by the time the things have happened, you really do sink into that relationship. And when you're talking about something that's like verbose or too much, remember that this is also directed by Tony Scott, right? Who's had like, famously like the least soft touch of a blockbuster filmmaker, right? And I think Tony, as we might get to when we describe later movies, has a flair for the excess. So I think something that is a little bit bigger, that is a little bit just more broad in its scope and its characterization is something he never tackled in this way, right? It's a little bit more of like an epic, which is usually his brother's territory. And I think it's perfectly suited to him.
Well, and I would say that's one of the issues. Well, not an issue, but it feels like Tony Scott's trying to make a Ridley Scott movie. And I think feels like a problem to me because I think Tony Scott has a very particular set of skills, to quote Liam Neeson. And I don't know that he has the same skills as his brother does, for better and for worse. And all I think of when I'm watching a 2 hour and 26-minute movie is economy of storytelling. Is like, you should be able to tell this story in 2 hours, still make us feel everything you want us to feel, and not drag us on for another almost half hour. And I say the same thing about Ridley Scott as well. I think Ridley Scott has a tendency to make his movies at least a half hour too long in many instances. And this feels like Tony doing the exact same thing, which I don't like. He's made leaner and sharper movies than this one in less time.
I think, though, with a previous movie that got incinerated where Ridley Scott was doing something genre-wise that was outside of his wheelhouse in terms of being very funny, I think this is like that movie made this list for those reasons. I think Man on Fire makes the list for Tony for that reason, because he's doing a thing that he doesn't do in Crimson Tide. Like in any of his other Denzel collaborations, really. We haven't even gotten to Deja Vu yet, which is another very tender film. But there's a sort of deep-seated, dark, emotional nature to this movie that isn't something that Tony usually tackles. And I think that should be reflected on this list.
I would argue that a darker Tony Scott representation would be The Fan.
Yeah, but The Fan's a bad movie. I mean, or at least an okay movie.
I'm not saying it's a good movie. I'm just saying I think he's explored these tones and these things before in other ways. He's pulling them all together in this movie, which I just think is too long and unwieldy and loses its impact in being too long and unwieldy. That's my final comment.
I would argue that Billy Ray just lost this argument with that last thing. It went completely off the rails. Connor, you have easily won this one. Man on Fire is going to stand here.
It's hard when I like the movie. It's hard when I'm having to like
Billy Ray. You're a great actor. Don't let anybody tell you different.
That was scary. I was very glad I didn't pull that landmine, honestly.
So that means Man on Fire is actually really on fire right now. It's incinerating at number 12. We hardly knew you. We're sorry, Fanning. Dakota family.
The cognitive dissonance I was feeling in my brain, where I'm like, I chose this thing
You're trying to
get
save it.
incinerated, but I'm arguing in its defense.
I agree with this comment. It should have just been revenge movie quotes. That would have been glorious. Okay, Mitchell, back to you for the number 11 incineration. This is the last chance for. Well, actually, we both used our in good consciences, so they're me and Ryan are out.
All right, yeah.
So
Okay.
let's see what Mitchell
Good grief.
wreaks some havoc.
Um,
If you play Alien, I'll kill Connor.
a skin off my back. All right, we'll just do that.
Okay, we talked about it earlier. We didn't know what would come of it. We now have an idea. At number 11, porn enthusiasts might know this from its porn title, Glad He Ate Her. But we are going to refer to it as 2000's Gladiator.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I loved what Connor said earlier about it being perfectly rated. I almost fall in a camp of feeling like it's underrated at this point because I think it gets a lot
Sure.
of flack.
Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, like a movie not set on Earth that was incinerated earlier in this episode, I think that it is a great example of Ridley's capacity for knowing exactly the right buttons to push at exactly the right time to make a story just flow beautifully. I don't know if there are, too many more movies that I would define as perfect blockbuster entertainment. I think that the way that this story is drawn with this sort of hero's journey for Russell Crowe through it, the scene of him dropping the mask, doing the monologue, like I think I said this to Connor when I was watching it, that like there are very few scenes that send chills down my spine like that moment. And I think that it is like the defining example. I don't know if it's my favorite Russell Crowe performance, period. But I think that it's
definitely
exactly, it's exactly what you see to like, if using Connor's reference from earlier, if aliens came to this earth and you wanted to show them what a movie star was, show them Russell Crowe in Gladiator. And that's exactly what it is. I love Joaquin as a little scamp. Oliver Reed also as a little scamp. I think that it's like, I mean, it's just perfectly made, but I've got my heart in these other ones a little bit more, probably.
Connor?
I'm torn. I'm debating questioning this one. I'm not entirely sure yet because I agree with obviously everything Mitchell just said. I love this film. I too am in the camp of, I think it's almost gotten this reputation of being sort of such a mainstream, agreeable, rewatchable movie that it almost gets underrated, like when in terms of like its filmmaking prowess. And when you watch it and, even a performance like Russell Crowe's, it feels big. It feels like a movie star performance in a way that we kind of take for granted all the things he's actually doing in this performance, on top of, let's leave out just the physical stuff and whatever, but just even with his face, with his eyes, like, my God. So it's really hard to leave this one out, but I will say, in a world where this gets incinerated and erased from our memories,
unless you saw it opening weekend. If you saw it opening weekend, your memory stays, and I did see it opening weekend.
Oh, I unfortunately did not, but I do think, there are other epics you can point to as like, hey, what a great example of an epic, right? Like, you're not necessarily losing a piece of like cinema history or something. If you lose this movie, you are losing certainly like a prime piece of meat in terms of its genre, but I think I will also let it go.
Yeah. I don't want to make it seem like I think this is a bad movie or I hate it. I don't. I think I've just seen it so many times at this point that it's just kind of settled into this, like, it's good. Like, if it's on TV, I'm probably going to stay on and watch it.
It's a one sock movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Good one. I'm gonna watch it straight through if it's on TV. So it is one of those like endlessly watchable movies. And as great as Russell Crowe is, I think Joaquin Phoenix is just as great, being this nasty, sniveling little prick.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Connie
Ryan,
Nielsen too. We should shout out.
Connie
she's
Nielsen's
great.
great.
Jaimin Hansu's so good
Also
in it
great,
too.
Yeah. Oliver Reed. I think that was his last performance.
Yeah, they had to
yeah.
like patch him up a little bit with some effects.
Like Weekend at Bernie's.
No, not like Weekend at Bernie's. The only effect that movie needs is Terry motherfucking Kaiser. Ryan, what do you think about Gladiator being incinerated this low in the list?
I almost think this is a little too high. I would have preferred to go a couple rounds ago. Yeah, I don't love this one.
Wow. Okay. Ryan's got hard feelings.
More like
about
Gladiator.
I am not entertained. I will say that.
Well, are you tempted? Well, you have this special privilege that the patrons have given you.
I have actually already sort of discussed with chat and made a decision on something else. So we're holding steady.
Okay, there we go. Well, burning at number 11 is Russell Crowe in Gladiator. Shocked, but not too shocked. So now let's head on over back to Connor, who has the number 10 Incineration. We are now into the top 10.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out like what still is left.
It terrifies me that Last Boy Scout is sitting out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
And one of these
kind
is
of
going
a
to be
huge-
replaced
Like
by...
a true specter. Like a true specter.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, come up with that decision.
Okay.
That difficult
All right.
decision.
All right.
Send it to me, and then I will probably cry or kill you. I don't know. I'm feeling very violent tonight for some reason.
Just
I don't know
towards
why.
Connor, interestingly.
I know. I think maybe it's that black rain shirt. Okay. Okay. Interesting. At number 10, being incinerated is another Denzel Washington and Tony Scott collaboration. This one is called Deja Vu. Connor, why Deja Vu at 10?
The math is simple for me. When I was putting my list together, as I was rewatching all these movies, I was ranking them collectively, and Deja Vu was number 10. So it feels like the right spot. It's an incredible movie. I have nothing but nice things to say about it. It's what I would call, it's Denzel Washington's Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's not really much logic behind it other than that. There are other things I'm riding for a little bit more, other things I want to see go a little bit further. So I think to me, this just feels like a good spot on the list for this movie.
Mitchell.
In good conscience, please.
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Mitchell has used their final In Good Conscience, which means they are replacing this film with the only film that they can replace it with on their unique list, Domino. So Mitchell,
no.
So
I wanted to like break the world and send Domino like maybe to the final.
Well, let's be
three,
clear, Connor. You still have an In Good Conscience as well.
You could save Domino.
So
Oh,
you can
wow.
save Domino and then sacrifice your final unique pick.
I don't think I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
I don't think
So
I'm gonna
Mitchell,
do
then tell us, why are you saving Deja Vu and why are you dispensing with Domino?
I mean, Deja Vu, it's coming into this, I was like, there's probably one movie that I'm gonna, like, if I see that movie show up, whenever it shows up, I'm using my In Good Conscience if I still have one, and that was Deja Vu. I think that it is a beautiful movie. Connor described it as tender a little bit earlier. I think that's very apt. I think that it is one of the things with Tony Scott that sticks out so much to me is his romanticism, is the heart that he puts into these things. I think that so many other filmmakers would make a movie like this and it would not have the soul that Deja Vu has, both in the relationship between Denzel and Paula Patton, and also in just like the heart of New Orleans, like making a movie there at this time, like you feel what that city has been through in like every pulse of this movie. It's so sweaty, it's so sinewy. Val Kilmer is crushing it.
Kilmer.
Adam Goldberg is crushing it.
Tony knew exactly who to give the junk science monologues to.
Yeah.
So you get Goldberg showing up kind of like Michael Douglas in the China Syndrome a little bit. Like he's got like that kind of energy.
Such a great comment.
I was watching this just to let him deliver his like just little, fold a piece of paper kind of science explanations. And I was like, he's like a little snack in this movie. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, it is Tony's Minority Report. I also rewatching it again recently for the first time in probably like 10 years. I'm like, why does Tenet exist as a movie when Deja Vu did it? Like, we don't, but
And shocker, you can understand everything they're saying in Deja Vu.
That's the other thing too, is that I feel like Deja Vu as like a mystery movie, you are so drawn in. You are exactly in Denzel's kind of headspace through every beat of it. You're not feeling like you're playing catch up with it at all. And I think that is really like
Carey Mulligan loves Domino, by the way.
I love Domino too.
Yeah.
Domino was not even on Connor's list. Let's let it.
No,
be
but
clear.
I do love it. Like,
and I was one who got Domino in here.
she's using nunchucks. Nunchucks are good.
I love Domino. I mean, I think that it is. I said it to Connor and Dan. Like, there are so many Tony Scott movies where I'm watching it and I can feel like, oh, this is like the most Tony Scott movie. But then I watch Domino and it's like, no, this is definitively the most Tony Scott movie.
And
He's throwing
Domino
everything at the wall in
it's
that.
Black tar Tony, right?
Yeah.
It's pure uncut Tony Scott. And it's also the reason it wasn't on my list, but the reason I did kind of want to see it go a little further is one, I knew it was going to be on Mitchell's. I just knew that they were going to choose it. So I knew it was going to show up in this conversation. And two, I really, that Domino feels like a movie that shouldn't exist. And the fact that it does is a miracle.
It's
And I
crazy.
think that should be celebrated.
How did he get that out there? And so many people did not like it, but it is a flawless movie.
Well,
I love Deja Vu more.
Well, tell us about Domino, Ryan.
Uh-oh.
I love Domino.
Oh, right. It's got a landmine on it, right?
I think it's one of my favorites. But I will say we do know that this is somebody's unique pick. So, of course, there's a landmine. And this is one. That's our landmine theme music on the slot. This landmine is called Showdown. So the two guests are going to compete in a single round of competition. And the winner will get to ensure that one of our remaining titles gets to the final five. Billy Ray, you get to choose the competition. I wasn't prepared for that part.
Oh, no, I'm totally prepared. We're going to go a little less mainstream for this one. We're going to stick in the Domino camp. The film or the actor that you will be listing is Delroy Lindo.
Ooh,
Sure.
Okay.
And so, Mitchell, since you started the last one first, Connor, you're going to start this one first.
Shit. Okay. Delroy Lindo. I will start with Stop Eating My Sesame Cake, Congo.
And just a quick note, in approximately 70 minutes, my film festival here in Seattle is screening Congo.
You see
at
how
a local
you
theater.
up for that?
So,
You see that?
that's right.
Synergy, baby.
Go ahead, Mitchell.
I mean, can I say Domino?
You can.
Oh, well, I didn't.
Back to you, Connor.
I didn't know that. Shit. I will go with Defy Bloods.
Okay, Mitchell.
Keep It in the Family, Malcolm X.
There
I
we
just
go.
I just watched that at Museum of the Moving Image in 70 millimeter. It was great. I'll say a brother's love is a brother's love. I'm gonna go with Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yep, Mitchell.
Crooklyn.
That is correct. Connor. Uh-oh.
Yeah. I'm trying to
5,
get like a deep cut. Yeah, no.
4,
take it. Just take
3,
it.
2, 1. Mitchell, one more title.
I'll say Heist. The
Ah,
Disney
shit.
Minute.
That,
Yeah.
Ice is correct.
I
You
knew
could
you
have
were gonna slap yourself when I said
Yeah.
that.
could have also gone with Clockers, Get Shorty, Ransom, The Cider House Rules, The Last Castle, and not to mention the great 2021 film, The Harder They Fall.
Yeah.
So, Mitchell, you've won this, which means you now get to advance one film all the way to the final 5.
I will. Should I just speak it?
You can just speak it.
I'm gonna go ahead and send Deja Vu up there.
Wow. Deja Vu. Not kidding around. So we know automatically. Okay. Wow. That's going to be insane. That's going to be insane. Okay. Well, woo. Domino is gone. Can you hear that? It's gone. Mickey Rourke. Sorry, Mickey. Like it's just over. The number 9 Incineration is next. It is now back to you, Mitchell.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Shit happens quick here on the Incinerator.
Yeah. Christ.
To help out, here's an updated list.
I
in the
was
chat.
literally about to ask you to
that's
do that.
Beautiful.
And could you remind me which ones are not able to be played right now?
Yes, you cannot play Matchstick Men or Unstoppable at the moment. They are safe until the top 7.
You put Man on Fire. I mean, I just said it, but like you put it on the list, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You,
The list that you just
it's in the list you sent, Ryan.
Oh, well, it wasn't cut the way it was supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay.
And you
It's
don't get
gone.
a point for that.
I don't get penalized for that because you tricked me.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
This is really tough. Jesus. Okay, I'll just.
Thank you.
This doesn't feel great, but
No,
See how it-
this is a bad time. I am stressed out.
Let's see how it feels for me. That's what's important. How does it feel for me? Okay, well, wow. We are coming up to the edge of the cliff, and we know what's going to happen there. At the number 9 slot, Mitchell feels compelled to incinerate Thelma and Louise.
honestly, I don't feel compelled to do it. I just have to. I'm being forced to make choices here. I mean, what a picture, right? It's what's there's nothing negative to say about it. Especially with Ridley doing it, it's just, I mean, the fact that he, such a machismo driven director, makes such a beautiful feminist picture about these two badass gingers. I'm a ginger. What am I doing with this?
Hey.
I don't know. It feels like a crime that I've made this decision, but I just seeing those other ones, I just can't do it. And that's all there is to it. Throw me off the cliff, I guess. I don't know.
And the last Boy Scout is still out there.
I don't like to think about that. I'm just pretending that it doesn't exist. And when it happens, I will still pretend that it doesn't exist.
Now,
What are you gonna say, Connor?
I had a question about that last Boy Scout situation, just so I'm clear. That'll get played at some point and will go into the incinerator instead of another movie at some point, or
One of the movies that are eligible on the list right now, one of you will deploy it. We'll let you talk about it, and then I'll say, just kidding, that was actually never on the list. The last Boy Scout is there. You have to choose something else.
Because it'll get removed from the list
right.
completely.
I hate that a lot.
Which almost seems like it should be illegal.
You know, that's that. You know, we just want to make sure the patrons have enough power.
Yeah. Okay. Just because they pay for it, is that
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
okay?
So-
Ridley knew the rich were terrible. Ridley knew.
This is. I mean, look, you still have it in good conscience, Connor. You could say
No,
this.
I'm gonna agree with Mitchell here. Like we've been saying, this is hard. Like these are all, it all feels bad.
What am I gonna do? Cut Crimson Tide? Come on. Get out
So
of here.
you're telling me, Connor, that Thelma and Louise should be incinerated at number 9 instead of The Last Duel?
I am telling you that.
Oh.
Actually,
Oh.
I am telling you that.
Malarkey.
I am telling you that. Here's the thing. The problem is there are movies as we've discussed that are on this list that I would gladly incinerate instead of Thelma and Louise. But because of the machinations of this cruel machine that you've put together, we cannot. So just to keep everything moving and keep everybody calm, I'll agree. I'll agree with Mitchell, and I will let Thelma and Louise go.
We don't even get Brad Pitt without this movie.
Brad Pitt's in another one that's on the list.
Yeah.
I know, but we don't get him like this was his breakout. Like, I mean, we
Sure.
don't get him.
We don't get his abs.
You don't think Cutting Class was his breakout? What are you talking about?
No. Well, and I didn't see this opening weekend because I was too young, so it's gone from my memory. It's a shame. But you know what? Ryan, how do you feel about this before we put it to bed?
This one hurts because I believe this is the first movie on the entire list that I saw. It was either this or Alien. But man, I saw this so many times when I was way too young. Love this movie. Absolutely adore it. I just want to shout out, since I'm the physical media person, incredible release from Criterion. That just
Great.
So good.
Yeah,
That's
one of the
4K.
best things they've ever made. It's so great. Yeah.
It is a massive special feature bound edition that everybody should have in their collection. It is incredible. Now, though, the movie will never exist, so you don't get to purchase it. So thanks to these guys, even though they don't seem happy at all for Incinerator.
Who would ever make such
our
a choice?
Criterion copies just went up in value. Like it's just
Yeah.
much more.
You put the disc in and hit play, and nothing is going. It's just a black screen.
Thelma, Louise, and a whole bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry to see it go, but it is gone.
We're gearing up for a version of that Danny Boyle movie, the Beatles.
Yesterday,
movie, but it's just the movie that just got incinerated does not exist.
Connor, you have the final pick of the first half. After this pick, we're going to take a quick 5 before we come back with the rest of the list. But this is yours. Number 8. What is being incinerated?
Got it. And things are not up for grabs yet at 8. That happens at 7.
That is correct. Matchstick Men and Unstoppable are still untouchable at the moment.
Right.
So, I mean, it just makes sense that you play The Last Duel here, I feel like.
Does it?
I mean,
Does it make sense?
It feels like it would make sense. Oh, what's it gonna be?
I'm gonna fucking choose violence.
Here it comes. Oh, bull shit.
I'm gonna choose violence. Let's go.
I don't even know what to say right now. I am beyond flabbergasted.
Let's get nuts. Let's get nuts.
Y'all chime in on the comments here, because at number 8, Connor just played Alien. Not Aliens, not Alien Covenant, Alien.
Defend yourself.
And to be perfectly clear, I moved around my rankings to maybe put Covenant on this list to begin with, because I do think that movie is good and underrated. Look, I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to acquit myself, because as we've said,
yes,
we're debating between greatest and greatest here at this point. And I will just say that this would not have happened if I had been allowed to incinerate some of the other things that I tried to incinerate before. But here we are.
Speak your truth.
We have to make tough choices, and I don't think, I'm choosing chaos. I think I'd like to see the final 3 be a little more interesting, which is probably where this might have landed. And instead, I'm just going to let us get past that.
I want to hear you tell me why Alien is a worse film than The Last Duel.
You woke up the dog.
I want to know.
It's not
in a short point-by-point
It's
breakdown.
not. I just wanted to hurt people.
That's bad faith, Connor. That's bad faith. Mitchell, Alien.
I mean, I love that this got played. I think it's hilarious. I mean, on paper, the thing is that on paper, I think, you make the argument that this is probably the one that most people would expect was going to win. And I would have understood that, but I would have been quite bored by it. And I was
That's my point. That's my point.
I was kind of this whole time. I certainly wasn't going to play it. You know, there was one of the other ones earlier that I played. The first one that I played that I felt like I was taking a swing with that one, and so this one I was kind of baiting
Silent
my
Mandible
time.
Gets it. Silent Mandible gets it.
I was baiting my time a little bit with this one to decide like when I was gonna play it, but I definitely was going to play this before the top 5.
Jesus.
I mean, it's it's a masterpiece. It's a flawless movie,
yes.
but I also feel like
It's a perfect film.
other people, to Connor's earlier point about like you can feel Ridley in some of these movies a little bit more, I think, than I think other people could have made this movie. And so like whatever, let it go. Let's see what happens with the rest of the list. It's exciting. Who knows?
I know that I'm the one who put it up for discussion. I will say I don't actually know how many other people could have made this movie the same exact way, which is obviously that is the Riddler's power. That said, there's something to ascending certain movies high on a list that gives them visibility where maybe they previously did not have it. And Alien does not need visibility. So I think it's got to go.
Well, it's going for me because I didn't see it opening weekend when I was 3 years away from being born. So I'm shook. I am shook and haunted in the same breath. Ryan, you just need to talk. I don't have words.
Well, I believe when defending his choice, and I'm going to stand up for Conor a little bit here. I think your words were like, this is a game of hard decisions, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've made the hard decision to change the entire layout of the game, and we're just going to roll with us 3 for the rest of the game because
Conor
I'm
got
just
removed.
Yeah, Alien is one of the few perfect horror movies. I think that it is that perfect level of tension, acted perfectly.
Look, I got the hat. You know what I mean? Like I love this picture.
So where is the last duel hat, Conor? Let's speak our truths.
They don't.
Somebody's gotta make it.
Did they make one? I'll buy it.
That's the problem, Conor.
You know, look, I enjoy chaos as much as the next person. Clearly,
The man who has tried every chance he gets to play the Faces of Death on screen drafts is mad that Alien's getting pulled.
That's right. Because it's not that I necessarily thought it should be number 1, because it wasn't. It was my number 3, but it should have gone higher. It should have gone higher than this. This is just
I would have gladly chosen like 3 other movies that currently are not eligible.
Yeah.
So I just want to say,
you know what?
You did this.
I refuse to take blame for my own doing. I refuse it. Well, on that horrific note, we are going to take a quick 5-minute intermission. So please stick around. Go get another drink. Go to the restroom.
What a mid-act break. What a mid-act break.
I know. Way to go out with a bang. We will be back.
The intermission of Kingdom of Heaven right now.
And yeah, we're in the home stretch. 7 more titles to go. Stick around, and we will be right back. Hello, everyone. We are back with the second half of the Incinerator. After the crushing end to the first half, I feel it's only appropriate that we bring in Mr. Dan Mecca back to find out his take on the chaos that just ensued.
What's up? I was watching right there at the end. Alien, yeah. I mean, it's funny. So what's funny is Blade Runner, because I watched a little bit after I left when I was with the kiddos, and Blade Runner I would have been more mad about Blade Runner getting picked. Like, what was it? Like the first one or the second one?
It was the second one. It got picked one later than it should.
I've always preferred Blade Runner. Yeah, you didn't like it, right? That's right. I've always preferred Blade Runner to Alien. Actually, I love Alien too, but to me, Blade Runner was the real crime, if I'm being honest.
How do you feel it's going so far? Do you feel like you're causing your landmine selections are causing enough chaos?
I feel like they're still. Do they still play in this round? They do, right?
Oh yeah. They play all the way up till the final three.
Yeah, there's still some damage to be done, right? I feel like so.
Oh, great!
But yeah, it's been fun. Right? The Man on Fire disaster. I caught that. That was an absolute train wreck, dude.
I tried my best, but I can't. It's hard to slam a movie that I really like.
Yeah, that wouldn't. I don't know that Man on Fire would have been on my list. I wonder.
You're a little bit softer on it than
I was gonna say. I can look at my Letterboxd, but I don't think it would have been on mine. But I like it. But it seems like everybody here likes it a little bit more. I did comment Ryan saving Unstoppable. Love that. I couldn't have been a better engineer than that.
That was it.
I'm glad I've done you proud.
I freaking love that movie. I freaking love that movie. Did Domino? I did miss some of it. Did Domino go?
Oh, I can't say. I can't say.
Oh, sorry.
I'll get a point if I say it. But that should tell you right there the answer.
The Keira Knightley picture. Yes.
Yeah, it's gone. Yes, that
it has fallen in succession.
That makes me sad, but I get it.
Well, before we move on and do a quick lay of the land, we're going to do a very quick piece of Patreon pimping. We have a Patreon for the Incinerator. It is patreon.com/the Incinerator. And what do you get from joining us on our Patreon army? Well, you get exclusive series like Burn Baby Burn, which I do every month with Mitchell. You get the Cut As You Go series, which we'll get to in just a second. And then I do a Southern Hospitality film roundup as well. You get special perks like a monthly physical media zine from Ryan. And those things are just gorgeous and wonderfully put together. And I think everybody are really enjoying those. So that's reason enough right there. But you also get voting privileges, early episode drops, and handwritten cards and stickers at a certain level as well, because we like going old school. And join us over there. Have some fun. You also get to, help shape some of the chaos when we do these episodes as well, which is always fun. So join us on the Patreon, folks. And, we'll fuck some shit up like we usually do. And
they have already, because there's a last Boy Scout hanging.
I know, which is still hanging over like a specter. I do want to shout out a couple of people real quick. We did a promotion back in June. It was a kind of a Patreon thing that we were giving out prizes, and we kind of wanted to save those announcements until something big. And it's been 2 months, but this was the biggest thing, so we just waited till now. So these are the winners of those prizes. Hannah McGill is the winner of the physical media prize pack that Ryan is assembling based on Hannah's tastes. Melody Ferreo is the winner of the Cinephile Game Night from our friends at Cinephile Game Night. And then Scott Nesmith is the winner of the Make Believe Seattle prize pack, which includes a pass and a trip to Make Believe Seattle in March of next year. So congratulations to Melody, Scott, and Hannah for winning those prizes. Yay! Yay! To the victors go the spoils. So now let's talk a little bit about the lay of the land. And Dan, you're free to stick around as long as you'd like.
Yeah, I'm going to stick around. I got, I'm looking at the baby monitor. I'll let you know.
Yep.
It's turned around, though. You're not like facing the other way.
It's just playing a Keira Knightley movie directed by Tony Scott.
The back of the baby monitor.
There are 7 titles left: Crimson Tide, Deja Vu, Kingdom of Heaven, Matchstick Men, Spy Game, Unstoppable, and The Last Duel. There is only one In Good Conscience remaining, and that currently belongs to Conor. And there are currently 4 landmines still out there. So that's there's still some landmines happening. Oh, actually, excuse me, there's 3 landmines, not 4. So 3 landmines remaining, and then I have 1 point. So Mitchell gave me that 1 point, and that's the lay of the land, folks. Are we ready? Are we prepared to dive back in?
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm good.
I don't hear anything to the contrary. So cut 7.
Hey, Billy Ray,
4.
you want to check your private chat?
Yes. Oh, yes, I will check my private chat. I was going to do that at the end.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep. Nope. I did see that on my list, but you'll know what I'm talking about at the end, folks. You'll understand what we're talking about there in our private correspondence.
We can all drum it up like it's some huge surprise.
It's about Unstoppable. All right.
I can't believe you allowed Ridley to rent that room in the back of your house.
Cut 7 through 4 will be incinerated for everyone, including you, but preserved for future generations, meaning everyone who saw the film before this episode recorded will have their memory wiped, while everyone who had not seen it still has a chance. So all films are eligible now, except for Deja Vu, which was advanced to the final 5. So for the number 7 incineration, Mitchell, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is an easy one since Conor and I both kind of agreed that it would, merited going a little bit earlier. Now it's back on the table.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is back. We thought it was gone earlier, but it did prove itself to be somewhat unstoppable. But now it does look like, unless a miracle occurs, Unstoppable is going off the tracks at number 7. And we know Ryan can't get it back on because he derailed a train once himself. Unstoppable at number 7. Look, Mitchell, we've already talked about it, but
yeah, it is what it is.
He thought that he left the Independent on, but he didn't. And now it's under full power.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We discussed it enough. I think we, give it got, it's deserved few spots higher, and now it's time to go.
Look, it got a spot the size of the Chrysler Building. So
a spot the size of. So, any other thoughts on Unstoppable? Anybody before we
Dan, Dan,
you want to say a few words?
Shot in Pittsburgh. It's where I live. But I guess it's like, there's the cat. I don't know that.
Cat's pissed. Cat's a huge pine nut.
The most luscious pussy in all of Christendom.
I hate to say, so hang on, The Last Duel remains.
Yep,
it remains.
Okay, so I mean, Conor loves The Last Duel, as we all know, and I do really like The Last Duel, but it's so crazy that The Last Duel is still here and Unstoppable, which is like Ryan said it before, the 3rd most entertaining movie made in the last 20 years. Like whatever though. Okay, good. Last Duel, fun. Ben Affleck, fun. But R.I.P. Unstoppable.
There it is. Unstoppable at number 7 is indeed not. And so, but is there anything else, Ryan?
Yes, there is. And of course, I got to put up my picture here because there is going to be a massive landmine. And I'm glad that it's here because this title deserves one. And I'm glad that this one's not going too late in the game. So this one has a wonderful landmine attached to this called Days of Blunder that was written for this episode. The player that tried to incinerate this film must guess the lowest grossing film for each filmmaker. This is where it gets interesting. If you get both correct, you get 2 extra In Good Consciences.
Damn.
If you get one, we're going to figure out how that works, especially this late in the game. If you get 1 correct, your opponent gets 1 In Good Conscience and you get nothing. If you get neither of them correct, your opponent gets 2 In Good Consciences.
Oh, that's interesting. All right. Am I allowed to pull up the wiki and look at their filmographies or just kind of raw dog it?
If you pull up the wiki, you're going to see the grosses possibly. So
I mean, I can pull up the Letterboxd.
Letterboxd would make more sense. Letterboxd would make more sense.
Wait, what's
No,
Letterboxd?
I've never used this app before. I don't know what it is, but I've heard people talk about it. They said really nice things. They said it's really good. Don't put me on the full screen.
You're there. You're up, baby. You're up.
Mitchell Cam.
Let's go.
So Mitchell has got to give us the lowest grossing films from both filmmakers. I know what they are because I looked them up. I assume Ryan does too.
I did not know. This is
okay. I do. I looked them up, so I know what they are.
Are we talking adjusted? I know it's not me doing this. I'm just curious. Are we talking adjusted for inflation?
Yeah, Connor. Ask any important and relevant questions.
We are not talking adjusted for inflation. We are talking just their gross.
Okay.
So
all right. So I'll take the swing for Ridley first and guess. I'm kind of between two, but I'll guess someone to watch over me for Ridley.
Okay, and then your Tony Scott guess.
Let me pull up the lad. Tony. I will.
Tony.
Oh, this
yeah,
is exciting.
That's a tricky one. So I'll guess I will. That's Tony's trickier. I feel like none of them really stand out as obvious contenders.
Well, I'm not even looking at it. I feel like there's one.
There's one that's pretty strong.
What's it gonna be, Mitchell?
Yeah, think about it. Or guess.
I mean, I'll guess The Hunger for Tony.
Mitchell got them both right, everybody.
Wow.
It is The Hunger and Someone to Watch Over Me. Someone to Watch Over Me is only barely made less money than White Squall.
Oh wow!
Barely.
I was kind of between that and 1492 as the Ridley.
So you got them both right. That means Mitchell now
that.
has two In Good Consciences. Now the way these In Good Consciences work, you don't have to swap anything out. You just make your opponent swap it out for something else. Now these are only good
in power.
Only good until the top three. They're not good in the final three. So, but you do have that power now. Congratulations, Mitchell.
Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm very grateful for it. I apologize for anybody watching this or listening to it who is not a fan of me.
Oh, yes, then they would be very disappointed right now. So, the number 6 incineration is upon us. Connor, it is back to you. Just don't play something Mitchell doesn't like, or they'll In Good Conscience it.
A quick question. So since Mitchell won the landmine, does their pick get incinerated?
It stays.
Oh,
It stays. It doesn't save the title. No.
Okay. Got it. All right.
No, that film is gone, dead. I don't know it. I don't remember it.
Got it. Okay. It's just sort of it's just an after effect.
Some would say that it's been stopped.
Sure.
That doesn't even register.
Careful.
Why would it?
Careful.
It reached the end of the line.
Okay.
You know, I got to admit, I think they just pulled off one of the more impressive things we've ever seen on here. Pulling from Ridley and Tony and guessing both of the lowest. I mean, that was an incredible.
I was overthinking the Hunger one. I felt like that was kind of my guess, but then
I would have guessed 1492.
It's the Hunger's so high on the Letterboxd of most popular that I was like, I don't know, my second get, but I felt like it was one that's kind of raised.
It got popular
awareness.
Later.
Yeah,
it got
exactly.
Popular
Kind of
later.
became a cult thing.
Can I get an updated list? Is that possible?
I guess.
You can, Connor.
Can you play The Last Boy Scout before I lose my goddamn mind? This is
He
driving me
can only
crazy.
play it.
I just said that to everybody. Hi, those are the eligible titles, chat.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Those are the
Crimson Tide,
options.
Kingdom of Heaven, Master. Yeah. Hey, those are some good ones, you know?
What's it going to be, Connor?
Did we clarify that Kingdom of Heaven, it's the director's cut?
Yes.
Director's cut.
Of course.
Director's cut.
Important.
Yeah, I think that's a given.
Well, I don't know that
I mean, the
everybody
same
knows
way
that.
when
I
we
don't know that
talked about
everybody
the
knows
other
that.
science fiction movie that got incinerated, we were talking about probably the ultimate
Final cut.
edit of that film, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which edit of that film; they're all trash.
Wow, brutal.
Okay, Connor.
Okay, all right.
Pick it, bro.
It hurts me to do it, but
Don't do something that I'm going to regret.
Oh,
Well, I mean, I got it as far as I could at number 6. Connor, who obviously hates Nicolas Cage, is incinerating Matchstick Men. Why? Why do you hate this film?
Look, there are other films that I cannot mention that have been incinerated that I would have preserved if I was able to incinerate this a little sooner. And like I said, we're making hard decisions, so it's tough. This is legitimately, I think, my favorite Nicolas Cage performance. Probably it's certainly up there. But I gotta let it go, and like we've talked about, it's all tough decisions. So,
Mitchell, how do you feel about this?
If I, in good conscience, what were to get bumped up to? Top
it would make it to the top 5.
5, and that's where Deja Vu is right now.
That is correct. But
in
keeping
5.
in mind that you will have the number 5 incineration yourself, so you're definitely getting it to the top 4.
And these 2 new in good consciences I have, if I don't use them, they expire at 3.
Yes.
In good conscience.
In good conscience. Mitchell has in good conscience.
all right, so
I love this.
I just have to pick a different movie that's not the one
That's
you chose.
That's correct. The only titles that you can choose from at the
are
moment
the one that are on that that I just chose from, right?
well, Crimson Tide, Kingdom of Heaven, Spy Game, and The Last Duel.
Right. Okay.
Connor.
come on, Connor.
Here's the thing.
Time, Connor.
I thought there was me. I thought
Connor,
we were maybe
it's
a little,
time.
I thought we were maybe a little simpatico, Mitchell. So I thought maybe we could get past this. So I feel like I just need to burn something that we both love as punishment, and I think that's what I'm gonna do.
Look at Connor. Oh my god.
Oh,
So because you wanted to preserve Matchstick Men so badly, okay?
top 5 for me, mind you. Top 5.
This game has done something interesting to
love when
Connor, and
I
I
love
don't
when-
know.
I love when- you know what Connor is?
Oh,
Connor's a man on fire, and
Mitchell, you had better, in good conscience, this. You had better do it. Damn it! At number now, Connor at number. At number 6 is trying to incinerate Crimson Tide.
I'm not trying to do anything, okay? I want to be clear. I made my choices, and other people have forced me into horrible spots.
Mitchell, don't
So
let this
I
stand.
just want to be absolutely clear. I'm picking my battles well. Everyone else is trying to save fucking Matchstick Men. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
I don't think Matchstick Men deserves that level of disrespect.
I-
And Crimson
look,
Tide
like I
is
said,
my
we're-
number 1.
They're all great movies. We're talking about. I love them all. That should be acknowledged.
hysterical.
So, Mitchell,
I'm
how do you
sorry
feel
for
about Crimson
yelling.
Tide?
Mitchell, you gotta just do it, dude.
Listen, I'm not gonna do it.
No.
I hate to say it. I don't know what Connor's gonna try to play at 5, and I gotta hang on to one of these babies.
You got the
Okay.
5 pick, not him.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what Connor's gonna try to play at 4 that I could then try to finagle. So
But just
Okay.
think, if you in good conscience this, he's probably gonna play. We're gonna have to play The Last Duel at some point.
no.
Well, no, now
What?
see now.
I'm not. I'm
See, now
not.
Because
think
maybe I've
Connor-
been emboldened.
I'm not
think
playing
Connor,
that
I think,
game.
is
I
not
will
playing
not
Last
be
Duel
silent.
ever.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will
I'm
not
not.
be
I'm
silent.
not playing that game because that's what I just did with Matchstick Men. All right, that's.
I
I
would-
saw this list. I said we all said for sure. Connor, surely his love of The Last Duel does not extend to the point where he would choose one of these to go before it. And then he got mad at me and he did
I
this. And we're
do
all here
appreciate
now.
it though. I think it's.
I respect the move. I respect the game. I play similarly. It's whatever. Crimson
you're not
Tide's a
using
perfect
it.
movie. I'm not using it.
In
It's
the
a
words
perfect
of
movie.
Jack Reacher, you wanted this.
You wanted this.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And
Crimson
what's
Tide,
the
though,
what's
we
the
should
boot?
talk
What's
about
the boot? The blood boot line, Jack Reacher,
Look,
whatever. You did that to
Crimson
me.
Tide is one of the most perfect action thrillers ever made.
Agreed.
I saw it opening night when I
Yeah.
was a kid.
We
I've
all
been
love it.
obsessed with it since then, partially because of all the Alabama references. I was a
Yeah.
sucker for that. Roll
Sure.
Tide. And it's just Denzel and Gene Hackman have really never been better. Like they're
Amazing,
so great.
incredible adversarial chemistry.
Mhm.
Incredible.
It's
Yeah.
the thing with Crimson Tide too that is it's
There's a
wonderful, like-
sequel.
Wow.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Just wrap it up there. Damn.
God. All right.
It does the thing that few movies are able to accomplish, like to this degree, where it puts you in the position of the characters having to make an impossible decision, and you really have to question in that moment what decision you would make. There is no good solution, kind of like choosing between, I guess, The Last Duel and Crimson Tide. You don't want to do either. You don't know what the right move is for some reason.
There's a right move.
But I think it just accomplishes that so well. And you feel that like in Denzel, like having to make that move in this pressure bottle of a situation. Like it's just what a picture, what a great movie. It works perfectly, would work perfectly as a play as well as, a piece of film. I think it's amazing.
And who better to tell you you're both right and you're both wrong than Jason Robards? Like,
yeah,
it's a perfectly cast movie across the board. It's a perfect film. But
and here he is, Jason Robards, coming into the.
Let's bring him
stream.
in. Bring him in the chat, Jason.
Wow. I am devastated. Dan, how do you feel about this?
No, I'm equally bummed. I wish. Here's my thing. I wish there was some sort of competitive, like old-fashioned way to go head to head in a very direct way. I can't think of
Maybe like a joust or something.
yeah, like
Maybe
a
you get
joust, like
get on a
some sort of
horse.
like
I don't know.
tete-a-tete. I'm thinking of Hamilton for some reason. Anyway, no, I mean Crimson Tide's amazing. Like the whole, the horses debate, which has the racial, subtext becomes text stuff.
We all love the Silver Surfer stuff.
I was going to say the Tarantino polish, I think, should be bad, right? Like just when you like, not that Tarantino's bad, but like he did that for a few movies, and you think to yourself like that can't have aged well, and it ages really nicely.
Look, I'm going to say something potentially unpopular while I'm on a roll. I do think Tarantino is one of those writers that in a perfect world, he would always be directed by Tony Scott.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a hot take for Tarantino's directing. But when you talk about True Romance and then him writing for Scott on Crimson, I mean, yeah, the CV is good, So
well, Ryan, any final thoughts?
Crazy times.
I have quite a few. I love Crimson Tide. This does not have a landmine. You don't need to worry about that. I think this is an incredibly made movie. It is still entertaining and very well done to this day. But I think Dan would agree with me that it makes the most comedic sense right now to change what the Patreons are going to do. And we're going to take Crimson Tide off the list and make it survive for another 40 minutes as we finish the show. And the Last Boy Scout is taking his place. And now you get to pick something else to take its place, because the Last Boy Scout cannot be picked right now either. So fuck you for getting this thing back on the rails.
Unfortunately.
Wait, hold on. Say that again. Wait, what?
The Crimson Tide has been removed per the patrons to bring on the Last Boy Scout. The Crimson Tide is not even considered on this list anymore.
It's not incinerated. It exists for all of us. We can talk about it.
Yeah, so that's a
For the next
celebration.
40 minutes.
It was never on the list to begin with. I think that's acceptable. I think, unfortunately.
Wait, so Last Boy Scout now will make it to the top 5?
It will, yes.
No.
Because it can't
Well,
be
no.
picked right
Well,
now.
Last Boy Scout replaces Crimson Tide
On the list, but it can't be picked right now. Connor has to pick another title.
So it will by
That's how we've done it every
by
other
default
time.
make
Yeah,
it
by
to at least the
default, it'll
next
make
pick,
it.
right? The next, yeah.
Okay.
Look, I'm just
Now I
I
understand.
know
Now
that
I
this isn't
understand.
entirely a team sport, but Mitchell, you know what you got to do in the next thing, right? Like we're being clear there.
It depends a lot on what you're about to do, buddy.
I think you just. What are the
So-
movies? That? Oh wow.
Wow. So I am happy that Crimson Tide. So everyone at home, pause this. Go watch Crimson Tide. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
Um.
it's great. It's a great
Okay.
film.
So then I need another pick from Connor.
See,
Fucking Connor.
Thank
all
you,
just-
patrons.
you're all just doing this to yourself.
Thank you, patrons.
He's gonna pick like
What am I? What do you think I'm gonna?
I don't even
what
know.
do
I mean,
you-
it just make me sad. You're such
Well,
a-
I don't want to do it.
Wow.
I hate it. I hate this pick. I don't want to
Wow.
do
Wow.
it. I don't
Well,
want to do it.
I should log off. This is
I
just
don't wanna
making
do
me upset.
I don't want to do it. Literally, the two movies I just picked
Well,
are my two
Well-
favorite Tony Scott films.
here's a surprise for you. Spy Game is the film that the engineer advanced to the top 5.
Oh
So
yeah, I
you
did
can't
that.
put
I
Spy
forgot.
Game
I did
either.
that. Yeah.
You
See, I
have
forgot. I forgot. I did that. I forgot.
You have 2 films you can play: Kingdom of Heaven or The Last
Oh, God.
Duel.
This is literally.
Connor.
You know what's funny?
Connor.
I have to now. I will concede because these are literally I'll show my hand. These are literally the 2 films that I was like, I gotta take these as far as I can.
What is going on?
Let me tell you something. I am so happy I picked Spy Game to survive.
Yeah, look,
That,
look,
that
me
could
too.
not have
Look,
played
me
out
too.
more perfect.
That didn't.
I forgot I did that.
So
When you
I
said that, I was
will-
like, "Oh, who picked Spy Game?" Oh, I did.
I will. This is what 6. This is the
Six.
This is
pick?
6.
Yeah.
And
my
has been for the
goal-
last 18 minutes.
Okay.
Ryan.
My goal was to at least get it to 5.
Yeah,
and
close enough.
let me just be perfectly clear to all you fuckers who pay Patreon. By the way, it kills me that the last Boy Scout
Yes!
is gonna fucking live on. But whatever.
What a weird time.
So, okay, fine.
Send it to me in the chat. I want to make you send it to me. I want to read it out loud.
Carrie Mulligan. I thought the hot take was about to be K-19 is a better summary
This is-
movie. K-19 kind of.
This
It's
is
kinda
for
good.
every
Kinda good.
title that Connor has obliterated in its wake. Incinerating at number 6, The Last Duel.
Oh,
Can I speak to it?
Yes.
Of course.
please.
Of course.
Look, we've been on number 6 for a while now, so I will keep it short. The reason I'm going to bat for this movie is I think this movie kind of really deftly, really sneakily pulls off a Herculean feat that I think is very impressive, especially when you consider the people behind the camera making it. And I think there is no reason for this movie to be as entertaining, as funny, as nuanced. It contains, and I know we say this as a joke sometimes, but it contains multitudes, and I love that about it. And one of the reasons I'm riding so hard for it, I think if this is a movie that came out and was a huge hit, I probably, wouldn't die as hard for this movie, but it got buried in the wake of the pandemic and things like that, and it really didn't deserve it. I think it's one of Ridley Scott's very best films. It's got everything he does well in it: his epic scopes, his period pieces, his female characters, his action, his suspense. It's got it all. So that's why I was riding very hard for it. I am very sorry to see it go.
Mitchell?
I mean, I'm filled with some regrets at this stage in time.
Really?
No,
just
you know, I quite like this film. I don't love it. Out of respect and love for my dear friend Conor O'Donnell, who I know this is one of your favorite movies, I didn't want to cut it early. Now that a certain movie just got cut before this, I don't know about the choices that I've made, but I mean, it's a good movie. I like it a lot. I especially think that Ridley, especially this since the 2010s onward, he's been very hit or miss for me. And I think that this is one of his more unquestionably successful triumphs. I think that the thing that resonates the most for me is how good the performances are.
Yeah.
I know everybody loves Affleck in it. I think it's one of Damon's best performances. I think that he that's a character who could have been played so easily as a more of a broad putz, and he brings so much humanity to him. I really feel for this guy who wants nothing more than to be liked and respected, and is wearing that desperate need to be respected on his surface so badly that nobody will respect him. I think that's such a tricky line to navigate, and he measures it beautifully. But yeah, I mean, it's thank you, Conor, for not, for finally making the choice. It
was a true Sophie's choice on that one. So,
Dan, Ryan, final thoughts?
Hey, what a run.
Hey, what a run. Ryan?
I will simply say this could not have went any better. The film is fine, but I think this was more dramatic than most of the
Thank
film,
you.
I'm so glad it's here.
The Last Boy Scout.
Let me be clear. I don't dislike The Last Duel. I just like so many of these films more than The Last Duel.
This for the past, however, 30 minutes we've been talking about movies we all love with vitriol, right? Like it's, you gotta just really, so I get it.
We're all having fun.
Okay.
I'll just say, listeners, before we might forget it, but it still exists for you if you haven't seen it yet. You should
watch that movie. It's
true.
It's true.
So say your last goodbyes, because no one is surviving this duel. They are all burning to cinders. That takes us now to the number 5 pick, which belongs to Mitchell.
Yeah, fuck this shit.
Everything is eligible now.
First,
everything.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Right.
Hold on.
Oh, wait. I got a little carried away. Whoops-a-daisy.
I was about to hit enter.
The Last Duel had a landmine because I think most people thought this was going to go a long time ago.
That was one of his unique.
Oh, yeah, right.
And let's make this clear. This is, I just hurt Conor a little bit. This one's going to hurt Mitchell. This one is called Billy Ray is a Gun.
I'm out of here.
Wait. How does this hurt Mitchell? This was Conor's pick.
Connor plays. So this has nothing. I'm putting everything on mute.
Mitchell said it was his least favorite landmine. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So this one is called Billy Ray's a Gun. The player must ask the host a trivia question related to the film attached to the landmine. If the host guesses correctly, the host makes the choice. If the host guesses incorrectly, the player may advance one film to the final 3. So actually, there's kind of a lot riding on this because technically Billy Ray could choose to save it, but he's not going to. But
there is a film on this list that I like less than this one.
Spy Game. It's got to be Spy Game.
All right, Conor, you get to ask Billy Ray a question about The Last Duel. If he knows the answer, then he wins. If he doesn't, you get to pick something to go to the final 3.
Mm-hmm.
But not this film.
But not The Last Duel.
Okay.
But you could choose The Last Boy Scout if you wanted to. Put it in the final 3.
Okay. Shit. I don't know if I know any good trivia about this.
That's why it's a garbage landmine.
So
that's why it's an amazing landmine.
I will simply say, can I look something up really quick?
Yes.
Okay. No.
Really?
No. You're not allowed to look it up.
That's why it's trash.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll ask the question, but can I look it up after I ask the question to see if I to see what the answer is?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Who shot this movie? And what was the last Ridley Scott movie they shot before this?
It's Darius Wolski.
That's correct. The second half of that question I do have to look up.
So this would have been Last Duel. He didn't shoot. This is a tough one. That's a good question to just come out of nowhere. Yeah.
Darius Wolski, the
I'm just
guest
just
of the
going.
B-side.
Going say he came on our podcast. Yeah.
Going backwards. I'm going to say All the Money in the World.
That would have been my guess too.
I believe. Sorry, give me a sec. I'm looking at his filmography right now.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Okay.
Wow. Good job, Billy.
Good job.
So now I get to incinerate a film. Oh gosh, this is tough. It's not tough. It's going to just stay The Last Duel. I'm sorry. We're not going to go anything crazy.
Good.
It's just going to stay The Last Duel.
I respect that.
Yeah, there's a film that I like maybe a little less than The Last Duel, but I can't do that to the patrons.
A little less.
Very little, mind you. Okay, so now we have officially put The Last Duel to bed. C'est la vie. Mitchell, send me your number 5 incineration, and it is the film.
Pack it up.
It is
Sure.
the last stand for the last Boy Scout.
Get it out of here. This is the thing is The Last Boy Scout. It's fine. It's fine.
It's a fun movie.
Whatever.
I like this picture.
Get it the fuck out of here.
Oh,
I will say to you patrons, I saw what else was in that poll, and this was the thing that won. That is insane to me. But other than that,
our patrons always make wise, informed decisions, and I believe that this is another example of that. Look, I think this is a super fun movie. Like, it's crazy fun.
It's a blast.
Bruce Willis is in top form. David Wayans is great. Like, I love this. I love it better than a lot of the films, some of the films on this list. So I'm okay.
Do you love it
with
more than
here.
Crimson Tide?
Crimson Tide was my number 1.
Exactly. What are we doing
And
here?
it's not on the list.
Okay, what do you?
Doesn't
Connor,
exist on this list, bro.
What are we doing?
Connor, any thoughts on Last Boy Scout?
no, it sounds like I'm dogging on it. This is a movie I didn't used to like a few years ago. It has grown in my estimation the couple times I've rewatched it over the past couple years. I do think, namely Bruce Willis, I think gets a little dismissed in this movie for doing some kind of like John McClane adjacent thing. I think it's a lot better of a performance. It's probably actually better than any of his performances as John McClane. It's like way more hangdog. He just, you really feel like the weight and sadness and his like loser energy in this movie. So I think that is a reason alone to watch it. I don't know if he's really adequately paired with Damon Wayans, which is a little bit of a bummer. You can see kind of, I think, some lack of chemistry or a little bit of their energies colliding.
I wonder if they liked each other.
Yeah, right. It's not like a Miami Vice situation where like they famously didn't like each other and that helps the movie. This is like, you can feel them kind of not really jiving, which is, I think, why I always do rub against this movie. But I think either way, it's a really great, just nice little piece of Shane Black entertainment. And if people like that kind of thing specifically, they should seek it out. But I think it didn't belong on this list, and I think it's got to go.
Dan, Ryan, final thoughts for The Last Boy Scouts.
That's fun. You should watch it, but it's wouldn't have been on my list.
Yeah, same.
Was it
Fun movie,
ours
but not the top.
either?
Completely agree. Yeah.
Okay, well, The Last Boy Scout, gone, baby, gone. We are now moving into the number 4 incineration, and after that is when things get interesting. So number 4, Connor.
All right.
What's it going to be?
And anything that wasn't fair game is now fair game now, right?
Everything is fair game. You've got Deja Vu, Kingdom of Heaven, Spy Game, and Matchstick Men.
Shit.
We know what you're doing.
I
Don't toy
Just
with
do
us.
it. Just pick it.
Just get it over with.
No.
Oh, he went.
We
he
didn't know
went-
what he was doing.
We did not pick.
thought you did.
Coming
Thought
back
you
for the
did.
second time in a case of appropriately titled Deja Vu. Connor at number 4.
Look, it's 4. Okay, what are we talking about? You know what I
Four's
mean?
good.
Like,
Four's
like,
great.
what are we talking
You're right.
about?
You're right. Yeah.
Mitchell,
Just barely
don't you
better
still
than
have
The
an
Last
in good
Boy Scout.
conscience left?
Yeah, here's the thing. This is why I didn't use it on Crimson Tide. In good conscience.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to pick
Mitchell-
something. I have to pick something else now.
You have to pick something else.
Okay.
He is in good conscience. Deja Vu into the final 3. Mitchell played that well.
It is what it is.
You know what's funny? I'm making all these like I just looked it up on my Letterboxd. I'm rolling my eyes at Connor picking Deja Vu. If you right now go to my Letterboxd, my public list where I've ranked all of Ridley and Tony Scott's movies, Matchstick Men is above.
Well,
It
Matchstick
just
Men
goes to
is
show
now.
you, like, yeah.
You know what matchsticks do? They burn, and this one is going to burn at number 4. So Connor, again, you talked about Matchstick Men a second ago briefly, but Matchstick Men, why do you hate it so much?
I love this film. I think it's Ridley in the same gear that he's in when when we talked about another movie that does not exist anymore, starring two very strong females, I think this is kind of in that same sort of vein. Again, he's a little lighter here, which is similar to the Not on Planet Earth movie that we talked about before. So it's in that vein. And I think obviously it made my list because of that. Like I said, I think it's probably one of my favorite Nicolas Cage performances almost. He also really, really, really well deploys Sam Rockwell in this.
Yeah.
I think Rockwell just has enough kind of sort of buffoon energy where you're like, I don't know about this guy, but also enough like snaky energy where you're not entirely sure if he's on the level. I don't know. It's nice movie. People should watch it, but I think it just really doesn't matter quite as much to me as some of the movies that are still on this list.
Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I love this movie. I think this is a cool spot for it. It's rad to see it get so high. I'll say that for me, a thing that I really adore about Matchstick Men that I hold really close to my heart is its portrayal of OCD that Cage's character suffers from. I have had really severely debilitating OCD for like over a decade now that like pretty much is a functioning part of my life, like every second of every day. I have intrusive thoughts like in my head all the time. And I think that a reason why I don't talk about that a ton like publicly is because there is like still this warped idea of what OCD is, that it's like you need to be neat, you need to be clean all the time kind of thing. And it's like not that. And I think that Matchstick Men does a really great job of capturing how intrusive it really is to your life, like how debilitating it is for this character, the way that he had like it seeps into so much stuff. There's a scene where him and Rockwell are conning this older couple, and just one of them opens up the door, like the balcony door, and the way that he's overwhelmed by the sights and sounds and just like the sensory overload feels so accurate to how like any shift in my environment can really drastically change like the headspace that I'm in as I'm just trying to process everything. And a thing that really resonates for me is with Matchstick Men, there's a big twist in the movie, and it's a cool like reveal, but I think that rewatching it after knowing what the reveal was, there's a little part of me that's like, this dude is such like a veteran con man. How would he fall for this happening? It's kind of obvious what's happening. But then I think about the fact that we see in his conversations with his therapist, like how lonely he is because of how much this illness controls his life. And that's something that I really strongly relate to. And so like him falling for this con against him is derived from how like desperately lonely he is. And this idea of having a connection come into his life is just so overpowering for him that it kind of blinds him to everything. And I just think that's really well measured. Ted Griffin's script is really, really tremendous.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of Cage's best performances. So I'm really glad that it got so high. I don't know if I would have had it quite as high just compared to like the other movies that are in here. But I mean, if this was lower than the last.
Look, I tried to get rid of it a little sooner.
Yeah, this was top 5 for me. I love this film. I do think it's one of Cage's best performances. I also have had mild struggles with OCD. Mine is all numerical based.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I hear a number, I start doing multiples in my head, and I count letters and words, and I count words and sentences, and it can be sometimes very distracting and very problematic. Sometimes it's not that bad, but I've been doing it a little bit during this recording. But so I relate to it to that degree as well. And I just think it's a really well-made caper flick, and I really, really like it. Ryan, Dan, how do we feel about Matchstick Men?
Yeah, I love it. It's right way up there for me. Good place for it. Yeah, the only stuff I've had with OCD is I will, and I do this less, but when I was really stressed at work, Connor knows this, I would subconsciously, or however you say it, avoid cracks while walking.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a weird thing that I would, if I got into it, I would like Connor's been with me when like we were in New York and I was like jumping around, and I was like not really
Like almost hopscotching down
realizing it, because like New York, it's like all cracks, right?
Yeah.
The city.
Yeah.
and I would have to really like stop myself and like step on a crack to just like reset, right? Which is it's silly. It's really mild. It's fine. But it's just an example of like, to Mitchell's larger point, it's perfect for Cage. He's so great. I mean, all the like when he's like doing the
vocal tics are
and the thing when he's like, have you ever, what is he's like and what is he when he's like in when he's like, oh my god, when he says and spit blood, like
piss blood,
right? It's so funny. It's a really good one.
I will just say, just last little thought about it, like, since this is about Ridley and Tony Scott, I think Matchstick Men is a perfect rebuke to anybody who thinks they have a certain idea of Ridley Scott. And this, I think, definitely perfectly encapsulates, like I said, like before, just the range, the sneaky range that he really has and should be respected for.
Yeah. Ryan, final thoughts?
I adore this movie. As somebody that has made full series on my channel to discuss portrayals of mental health in film, I think this is one of the most important possible of the last 30 years examples of that topic. And as somebody that parents 2 kids that have both been diagnosed with autism, one of them with ADHD, myself with ADHD, and lots of other narcissism uproots in the family, I think that this is one that not enough people see. And the aspect of realism in this that we need in film to really bring humanity to the aspect of humanity that isn't just surrealism, basically, when you think about how perfect every other family is. This movie is incredibly underrated.
And I love that it's not about that, right? Like it's a great con movie, and it's through the perspective of a guy who this is what his life what his life experience is. I think it's really balanced there.
And I love how Rockwell is so inconsiderate.
Oh my god,
but it's so he's so in character and so funny.
You get a really good Bruce McGill for your money in Matchstick Men as well.
Yeah. Well, those matches have been struck, and it is gone. We are now down to the final 3. I should tell everyone that cuts 3 and 2 will be spared elimination, but the creators of those works will never be allowed to create another piece of art for as long as they live. In the case of Tony Scott, unfortunately, that doesn't come into play, but it could for Ridley. So 3 and 2 will be safe, but they can no longer make it. He's already made Napoleon, so that one's going to come out regardless, but nothing after that. He's had a good run, that Ridley Scott. So now
the Gladiator 2, bro?
Hasn't been finished yet. The way we see with the way we do the final 3 and the number 3 consideration is we look at what titles are left. In this case, they are all 3 shared titles, which means Conor and Mitchell, you two have to work together to decide what the number 3 film is going to be.
I think we can do this.
And I should also mention that because Matchstick Men was played at the number 4 spot, the landmine could not be deployed, but it did have a landmine attached.
Okay. So we can just talk transparently.
Yeah, talk right here.
So look, I'm going to be honest. I'm riding for a number 1 spot for Kingdom of Heaven director's cut.
I will say that I would be satisfied with that.
Okay.
But I'm also hoping to get Deja Vu as high as I can get it. And
so my point is, I'm making a little bit of a parlay here.
Sure, do it.
I am fine to let Spy Game go at 3. I feel like that is a perfectly respectable spot for a great movie.
I love the conversation that's happening right now.
A perfect movie.
Very diplomatic.
So we agree then that Spy Game is going to incinerate at number 3.
It's got to go.
Okay. Spy Game it is. Why don't you kick us off? Why don't we just, Conor, kick us off on Spy Game? Actually, you know what? Let's let Dan kick us off on Spy Game, since Dan advanced it all the way to the top 5.
Look, and if I was in Dan's position, I would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah, so this is like a personal movie I love. And I think it's really like for people watching, or if they're watching later or listening to it, like it'll seem weird probably that Spy Game and Deja Vu will make the top 3. Spy
Nothing
Game
weird
is
about it.
Spy Game especially. Certainly a movie came out right after 9/11. It's Brad Pitt and Robert Redford together. You know, Brad Pitt by many was considered kind of a Redford type when he became famous. Like River Runs Through It came out right after or a movie with Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis.
Well, you
And-
can say the names, by the way.
I guess so.
Right?
Anyway, regardless, I just think Spy Game is one of those movies that's like, I think it's the perfect Tony Scott movie because it's just like a pretty rote spy thriller, but every zest that Tony threw in all of his movies is on screen in the edit, and you have like 2 amazing movie star performances by like these mirrored superstars who both look amazing in it. And like there's a scene, like just if you watch this movie, there's an exposition scene that's so boring, right? Like that he just shoots on the roof of a cool building and the coverage is a helicopter.
Yeah.
Flying around.
Only Tony Scott would cover
It's
a
amazing.
dialogue scene with a helicopter. Like, you know,
They're in like they're sitting
it's
in like
amazing.
lawn chairs, just like on top of this
and it's just
roof.
it's
Right.
stuff
It's
it's
incredible.
stuff like that. I remember that Ebert in his review we did not like Spy Game, and he was like, no shot lasts more than 15 seconds. And like I remember realizing as a young viewer, that's what I loved about it. Like the manic, you know, he was getting into those like, you know, acid tinged film stock. He was starting to do that. He does it more in Man on Fire and Domino and stuff like that. And he's like, this is the beginning of him being like, maybe Enemy of the State too. He's starting to really be like, fuck it. Let's just like make avant-garde shit.
Mhm.
And in like these big Hollywood movies. And he just gets away with it. And it's like crazy. And I just think it's like stylistically like 101. I like love it so much. Yeah.
Connor?
I don't have too much more to add to that. I mean, I think Spy Game's a perfect movie. I could watch that movie anytime. I think it's got that Tony Scott tenderness. Also, it's got like a sneaky, I think one of the beautiful things about, and not to spoil too much for anybody who hasn't seen it, but just one of the sneaky great things about the Redford character is that there seems to be a kind of too cool for school stoicism that gets creeped under with a little bit of a tender heart. And I feel like nobody could deploy that better than Redford, specifically in this movie. I think there is an energy to this movie that feels, and I hate using this word, but it feels like it's a great example of Tony Scott as tastemaker. It feels like you watch this movie and you look at other things that get made around the time, whether they're other movies, other spy movies, commercials, whatever it is. This is sort of, I feel like the apex of Tony in a pocket, whereas so goes Tony Scott, so goes the world kind of thing, at least in terms of the way things look, things feel in popular culture. So yeah, I don't know, an important one.
Mitchell?
I'm really glad that I got so high. I think that it's you know, basically a perfect movie. When I first saw it when I was like a teenager, probably like a few years after it came out, I thought it was like a total snooze. I just like wasn't on board with it. And it's one of those ones that I think speaks to the way that I've changed, my taste has changed or whatever, that I put it on rewatching, you know, these movies for this. And I was completely riveted. Like I put it on at 1 o'clock in the morning and could not take my eyes off of it. I think that in a similar way that Enemy of the State clearly harkens back to the conversation with Hackman, this feels a lot like a sort of, you know, later days sequel to 3 Days of the Condor with Redford's character, which I think is really compelling. And the pairing with Pitt is perfect. I think that it is like that espionage thriller that I love that we don't see as competently made as this. And the fact that like so much of it is Redford in a room with a bunch of stuffy suits, including Stephen Delane, just like giving them the hardest shit, but making himself like doing it in these subtle little ways. The way that he like picks up on like a piece of a word on the table hidden underneath some of their other papers. And he's like, oh, you're talking about this operation? And they're like, in their head, they're like, how does he even know about that? And then they see the thing and they realize that they got duped. Like, it's just so Redford plays this brilliantly. Yeah, I mean, it rules. I'm really glad that it's at 3. I'm glad that it's not higher than these other two, but
Yeah.
tight movie.
I also love this film. Just super fun. I remember seeing it in theaters and hadn't watched it since theaters until just about a week or so ago, and it still held up really, really well. Ryan, final thoughts on Spy Game?
I couldn't say it any better than any of you. Yeah, this one's great. Glad it's here.
Okay, well,
I love that we all love it. I feel like that's kind of surprising. That's nice.
yeah. And you know what? It's not going to be incinerated. It's just means that nothing. It has nothing. It's safe. It's absolutely safe. No damage
love
done
it.
to it. So
I
more
love
than
it.
one film will actually survive the incinerator this time.
That's nice.
Okay, so the way we decide who chooses the number one film. Well, first of all, at the beginning, our engineer Dan sent me a film that he thought was going to make it to the final two. And then he sent me a film that he thought was going to go sooner than people would expect, meaning outside of the top 5. He got both of those correct.
Knew it.
Because
knew it.
he predicted that Kingdom of Heaven would make it to the final 2 and predicted that Gladiator would go outside of a high spot, which means Dan got to choose which player makes the number 2 incineration.
Oh,
Therefore instilling the number 1 film.
Sure.
And Dan, why don't you tell us who you chose for that?
I don't. Is it Mitchell picks 2?
Yeah, you chose Mitchell is correct. You
Yeah.
chose Mitchell. So that means
Wow.
Mitchell.
Connor's best man at my wedding.
Yeah, when
So-
Billy Ray, when you were saying earlier, like
No,
whoever
I
Dan,
can't
whoever
not
Dan
pick
likes,
Connor.
whoever Dan likes more.
He's such a nice speed.
Like they've
Well,
been best friends.
Great
for,
bachelor
like,
party. He's
decades.
literally my brother. My family literally says he's the 4th kid.
Well, Mitchell, Dan has decided to betray all of that and allow you to choose the number 2 slot, therefore instilling the number 1. So it's all on your shoulders.
I didn't think of it like that. But I guess you're right.
Yeah, I mean it's a tricky one because Connor and I just kind of made a deal, and I've
Look, I could either keep talking to you or not keep talking to you. It's really
I've
really
clearly
that's-
been pushing a narrative
Connor,
for a while now.
You've just lost Dan as a friend. You don't need to lose Mitchell as well.
I've done everything that I could. Connor's been trying to play Deja Vu for a while now, and I've done everything that I could to get it where I wanted it to go. And you know, before I've been on this show before. Dan and I, the first time that I was on the show, Dan
That's
tried
right.
to play Steven Spielberg's Duel, his first
That was
pick,
like the first pick.
and somehow I navigated to get
I
it number
forgot
1.
about that.
That's
It would
right.
be- It would be
Oh,
kind
it
of.
made it to 1.
This would be, Mitchell, I will say, if you manage to do it twice, this would be the single greatest accomplishment in Incinerator history.
I
Oh,
just,
wow.
I mean, that's. See,
Just
now
do
That's
it, whatever,
after
just
guessing
do
the
it.
2 lowest grossing films in both of their.
Yeah, I
careers.
mean,
I
that's
know, I
very
know.
I
impressive.
feel like you deserve it. Just do it. It's fine.
Fuck it. I'll.
Yeah, just do it. So,
What do you play? You can announce it live. What are you playing at number 2?
just do it.
This feels crazy, but I
okay.
mean, whatever.
Don't
Say
hold
it.
back.
I'll play.
Just
Kingdom
say
of
the whole.
Heaven.
Say
I'll
the
play
whole
Kingdom-
title.
What? Will you? Because I still have it in good conscience left.
No, but it's
No,
gone.
Those expired. Those
Oh
expired.
God damn it!
Yeah, those expired when you're out of individual picks, unique
Yeah.
Long time ago.
So
Mm-mm.
Mitchell
Sorry, buddy.
at number 2 is playing Kingdom of Heaven director's cut.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy
Hey,
moments.
made it far. You know.
I just in no world is Deja Vu better than this movie. It's just not.
And yet,
Deja Vu is
So
Very
It's
Well-
good. It's a great movie. Great movie.
so let's talk Kingdom of Heaven, and I'll just start off quickly by saying this is a film that I had never seen
okay.
until preparing for this podcast, and I watched both versions because I wanted to be a completist.
Good for
And
you.
might be the biggest case I've ever experienced of a director's cut being so much better
Sure.
100%.
than the theatrical cut.
I think that's what's been behind this movie's like well-deserved reappraisal. Obviously, like even more so than the other fictional science sci-fi Ridley Scott film that we incinerated earlier. This is like a much yeah, Jim, you got it. This is a much I don't know, the leap that it takes in quality. And I don't even think like I don't think the theatrical version of this movie is like a complete
It's
disaster.
kind of good. Right?
I think even the theatrical version of this movie got sort of lambasted a little more than it ever deserved because of like post 9/11 racism.
Mhm.
And
we talked to Roxanne about it.
yeah, you could listen to the B-side where we talk about
It is a good conversation. I mean, it is.
but yeah, that's all to say. I don't know. I think not only is this movie a masterpiece for Ridley Scott, I think this movie is a masterpiece of just like cinema, right? Like just it's in terms of epic films, in terms of anything, it's got so much going on. It's the kind of thing, we had said this on our B-side episode, but it's the kind of sliding doors situation where if this movie got perceived differently at the time when it came out, Orlando Bloom would have a completely different career. I think it's an extremely brave choice that he makes taking this movie and performing in this movie. He's like the anti Russell Crowe in that other movie. And yeah, I don't know. Many other people have also gone to bat for this movie, so I don't have too much more to say about it, but it's the reason I was riding for it to the end. It's my favorite of these movies. It's a perfect film. That's all I have to say about it. Mitchell. I'm glad it's here. I'm sad it's not number one, obviously, but I like seeing my friends happy, so I'm glad Mitchell. That's what they want.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like Dan predicted it to get number 2 for a reason. Like all three of us love it. I had never seen the director's cut. I had seen the theatrical. I saw it in theaters. I liked the theatrical. I always liked it, but I had never committed the time to watching the directors until we were, preparing for doing this. And when I was watching it, I was, in Dan and Connor's DMs talking about how it's like one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It is probably my favorite Ridley Scott movie. I think that, I'll say that, Connor and Dan just mentioned it. They had Roxana Haddadi on the B-side talking about Orlando Bloom, which is like a 2.5-hour episode. Probably about like an hour and a half of that's dedicated just to Kingdom of Heaven. And I think it's one of like my favorite like podcast episodes I've ever heard. Like you guys just breaking down this movie is so good. So there's not really like, I would just be kind of parroting things that you guys said in there, but like the boldness of Ridley to make this movie 4 years after 9/11, a movie that is basically like white people were monsters to Muslims, and any like retribution that was enacted upon us was completely deserved. And like just all of the chaos, the bloodshed that has been spilled over, misinterpretations and exploitations of religious text is like so well documented in this film. It's completely captured. Seeing Jeremy Irons' character, who is like one of the few decent people in this movie, sitting like powerless to what is happening around him. Like he's in a position of power, but knows that he can't stop all of this. It's a heartbreaking performance. I think he's tremendous. And yeah, to Connor's point about Orlando Bloom, I think that it is a masterclass of a performance that was so like wrongly maligned because the movie was obviously marketed as, Ridley's doing, sword. Another sword epic. Here's Orlando Bloom taking on the mantle of Russell Crowe. Connor,
coupled with Orlando Bloom, we should say the director's cut does really, really resurrect and bring to the fore the Eva Green performance, who also probably has a different career if that version of the movie comes out. And
Dan said she should have won an Oscar for that performance in the director's cut.
So incredible.
It's funny. It's funny how Bloom's career was resurrected and killed. His movie star career was like ignited and then put away in swashbuckler movies.
Yeah, and I think
like Troy. Kingdom of Heaven kind of kills his stardom, but Lord of the Rings and Pirates rises, and they're all like Errol Flynn adjacent, things.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
And he's so great. Like he's so great in Troy too. Like that is such perfect
another brave
casting.
Performance. Yeah.
Exactly. Like being able to play somebody who is basically a cuck like the entire movie.
We'll come back for the Wolfgang Peterson Incinerator episode, for sure.
And we will unite to get Troy to number 1.
I'm gonna go feed the baby. Love you guys.
Love you, buddy.
See you later.
Bye, Dan. Everybody, wave goodbye to Dan at home.
Bye-bye.
So, yeah, I absolutely adored this film. Like I said, it was my first time watching it. I won't say much more. Y'all covered it pretty well. Ryan, any final thoughts on Kingdom of Heaven?
No, I mean it's an epic through and through, and if you somehow still have not seen it, this is the time. I mean, hopefully the reappraisal that has been going on over the last handful of years and the discussion tonight will, excite you enough to go check it out.
I'll
And
say
I do
quickly
also-
too.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Jim mentioned it in the chat that the Siege on Jerusalem is like absolutely. It's one of the
great.
greatest
Yeah.
action set pieces of probably ever. Like it is unbelievable how incredible that sequence is.
I'm throwing this in there, and there's not a Scott Brothers, but you mentioned it earlier. Like, I also adore Troy. I think
Hell
Troy
yeah!
actually is underrated.
Can we get Troy to number one on this?
And it also,
Honestly, surprise landmine. Troy
also has some of the best fight sequences, and just that.
incredible.
And
the
just
Hector and
Eric
Achilles
Bana-
fight.
oh my God.
God.
Brad Pitt is so good in Troy.
Yeah.
And like everybody. But anywho, we're now going to talk about the number one film on this list. Mitchell did it. He's only been on the show twice. Both times he got his favorite film to number one.
Crazy.
After it had been attempted to be incinerated much earlier. This time it is Deja Vu.
An appropriate film to be number one when it's been attempted to be incinerated like 3 different times.
I
And
kind of love that this happened, if I'm being honest. I think just in general, I think this top 3 is like the more interesting set of a top 3 we could have wound up with, maybe
for sure.
versus what people were may have predicted. So that's cool.
Yeah, I don't think people would have predicted 2 Tony Scott films in the top 3 necessarily.
No. And
I love it.
And look, I like to ride for Ridley a little bit more because I do think people get a little auteur crazy and they tend to latch onto that and champion that. And I think there's not necessarily enough respect out there for the chameleons who can kind of do it all. But I've been trying to incinerate it earlier, mostly because I wanted to secure Kingdom of Heaven's top spot because I knew that this was going to happen. So that was part of the reason I did it. But this movie is great. And it's definitely up there for Tony. Mitchell, I'll let you say a little bit more about it because I know you fought really hard for it. So
yeah, I mean, we talked about it kind of earlier, I think the first time that you tried. But I just think that this is like the movie that out of all of these, like you gave me this list of movies, any day I would probably pick this one to put on and watch. It's so gripping. The fact that he cast Jim Caviezel as like this militaristic nut job who thinks that he has to like decimate all of these people in order to
a great performance.
It's truly like a fantastic performance because
well employed.
You could almost see, especially 2 years after Passion, you can see like the gears turning in his head and like the interrogation scene, especially like the rhetoric that he's spouting. You can see
Tony
Caviezel, like he believes it. He's like, this guy is making a lot of sense. Yeah. And yeah, I think I just want to praise the drawing out of the mystery and the narrative of it and how like perfectly you're able to follow everything that's going on. And like you are able to kind of like, sometimes you're a little like step ahead of where you think Denzel's going to go next. And then he gets there. And then you're like, what, like, how are these pieces going to come together? Like, it's just really compelling to watch it all flow into each other.
Tony also had, like any great action director, Tony had such a knack for geography. And there is a sequence in this movie where Denzel puts on a helmet that lets him see back in time. And through one eye, he's seeing back in time. And through the other eye, he's obviously in the present. And he's having a car chase with a vehicle 3 weeks ago or whatever it is, whatever the time difference is. It's so inventive. It's so crazy. You never lose a minute of it because the way Tony's able to direct it. This is not my favorite Tony Scott film. I had to sort of revenge incinerate my favorite Tony Scott film. But I do think this does contain some of his best work. I think that sequence in particular is like one of the best action sequences in the last 20 years. It's so perfectly done. It's one of his very best Denzel collaborations. I'm glad that it made it this far for you, Mitchell. But
how many people could pull off that action scene? And what's going on the entire scene. Like,
well played.
Oh man.
We did it, everybody. We got through Ridley and Tony Scott. We left both. Well, actually, okay, then yeah. So only with Kingdom of Heaven is safe, but Ridley's not allowed to make any more movies. So after Napoleon, that's it.
That
And
sort
then-
of would be kind of a nice one.
Yeah, what a
Yeah.
great capper for him.
Like, knock on wood. I hope the man makes a few more movies, but I think the what's it called? Just the poetry of like starting with you know his first movie and then this. That's a nice parody.
Well, let's close some shop now. I want to remind folks that this is raising money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It is going to be open for the next 48 hours, so you can donate by Venmo. You can send to @BRB Seattle 1982, which you're going to see in the ticker below if Ryan wants to change that over. And then you can also donate directly to the AFSA's website. Just take a screenshot and send us to it so we can add it to the official total. And if you watch this outside of that 48-hour window, it would still be awesome if you wanted to donate to them. So you could still go to their website and still make a donation. We'll announce the tally at the end of that 48 hours. And now it is time to incinerate every single Ridley and Tony Scott film that was not incinerated beforehand and did not make our final list of 16, including Crimson Tide. And so there they go. They just all went up in smoke. They are all gone. So now, very quickly, let's do some plugs. Mitchell, where can folks find you? Where would you like to direct them?
I mean, whatever. I hate plugging. I don't know. Like, whatever. Follow me on Twitter. I don't care. Connor, go ahead.
Well, no, I'll plug for Mitchell. Mitchell does great work over at Letterboxd. They have some really incredible interviews that pop up from time to time. One of the best that I always love reading your work when it pops up. So I will plug for you. In terms of me and our engineer Dan, we co-host a podcast called The B-Side, where we talk about movies and movie stars and not their famous movies, but the ones they made in between. And I see in the comments somewhere somebody asked, who's seen a good year? I have, not just because I was preparing for this, but because we talked about that on our Russell Crowe episode. I kind of like that movie. It's not great, but I kind of like it. And yeah, so we have some fun stuff going on. We're currently on social media at TFS B-Side, and we're doing some audience choice polls while we're in hiatus. People can vote on some stuff. So far, winners of our polls have been Daniel Day-Lewis and Jodie Foster. We currently, as this is happening, have a poll going on about some of the strong females who have appeared in Ridley Scott films. So you can vote between Ruby Dee or Demi Moore or Susan Sarandon or Sigourney Weaver. And then we have a couple other polls dropping the remainder of this month. We will be back in September. So,
I'm rooting for Ruby Dee.
I voted for Ruby Dee.
As did I personally. Currently, it's looking like Sigourney, but we'll get there. And I also should. Oh no, I was just gonna say real quick. Cinephile Summer, which has been sort of a resurgent season, a third season of Cinephile Game Night. We're doing it as an audio video podcast. And you can check that out on the Film Stage Show podcast feed, as well as the Film Stage's YouTube channel. So
bizarre that I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't been invited. I feel very neglected.
Look,
everybody,
you'll be in the next season.
I haven't been invited back since my first appearance. I guess it went poorly. Ryan.
I will also shout out that I love Mitchell's stuff, and that Mitchell is one of the people that seems to ask a lot of questions in interviews that I want to have answered, and not a lot of interviewers do that. So appreciate all of the work that they do. Really, really want to shout them out. But also the Disconnected, anywhere that you can look, if you are a big fan of films and want to talk about physical media or film appreciation in general, please take the time to go anywhere. Twitter, X, any other name branding that they may change soon, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. I have a live show every Thursday night going over the boutique announcements. I have a new industry-related interview that goes up every Monday. And got a Patreon that you can find in the description below.
And the awesome zine that I mentioned earlier.
This is true. That's a part of my Patreon and the Incinerator Patreon. And yeah, no matter where you get it, just thank you for supporting physical media because it's in dire trouble and has been for 27 years.
The awards show that you ran for physical media for last year, that was so rad. Like that was
Thank
really cool.
you.
You did a great job with that. And again, like I love the work that you do as well because as Conor is as well, like huge like physical media heads, like everybody, you know, work on keeping that shit alive.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Great work all around. You obviously can find me at the Incinerator Podcast. If you want to join the Patreon, I'll encourage you to do it one more time. It's patreon.com/IncineratorPod. And you get all sorts of cool stuff, cool privileges. And we would love to have you join the army. So check us out over there. You can also check out my other podcast, Movie Mixtapes, wherever you find your podcast, having fun with that one. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with the way this went, guys. With folks. I'm really happy. I'm really happy.
Great time.
Okay. Please rate, review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on Twitter at Incinerator Pod and leave us a review on all platforms. Actually, the Incinerator Podcast is hosted by me, Billy Ray Brewton, and co-hosted and produced by Ryan Verrill. Theme song by Dan Sugimoto. You can find him at .tv/The Millennial Piano Man. And until next time, viewing audience, thanks for joining us and stay hot, kids.